homeless and believed prison would at least provide him with food and shelter. The matter was previously heard at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, where the High Court was sitting, before being transferred to Johannesburg. It is now expected to return to Palm Ridge today, where the long-awaited judgment is expected. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
An alleged gangster linked to the murders of 2 police officers in Reiger Park is expected to appear in the Boksburg Magistrates Court today. The 23-year-old was taken in for questioning earlier this week and subsequently arrested after more investigations. He's facing 2 counts of murder and possession of unlicensed firearms. The officers were shot while responding to gunfire in Reiger Park last Friday. 2 women were also died in that attack. Nkosikona Malingamnisi reports.
Police say they've linked the suspect to the killing of anti-gang unit members Constable Tlomatsana and Sbego in Reiger Park, but not to the deaths of the 2 women. 2 R5 rifles belonging to the officers were recovered during a tracing operation at the Wadugatole informal settlement in Germiston earlier this week. Police say the alleged gangster was out on bail at the time of his arrest and has several pending cases, including 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and possession of an unlicensed firearm. Investigations into the killing are continuing, with police pursuing other people who may have been involved. Khona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber says a proper northern border fence remains the biggest inhibitor to getting illegal immigration under control. Today, the department will officially launch the electronic travel authorization system that will keep closer tabs on who is entering the country and for how long they are staying, using biometrics and and facial recognition. Around 90,000 undocumented foreign nationals having recently been repatriated to their countries of origin. Parliament's Home Affairs Committee has questioned Schreiber about long-term plans to keep undocumented migrants out of the country. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
The Border Management Authority says the recent repatriations and deportations are not proving to be a deterrent to those seeking to re-enter South Africa through illegal means. But Minister Leon Schreiber says the new ETA system that will be unveiled today is the start of a series of measures under its digital transformation strategy designed to clamp down on illegal immigration.
It starts with tourists and short-stay visitors and airports, and then it expands into your other visa categories, things like study visas, where we've had many challenges over the years.
The new system will be able to warn visitors when they are about to overstay their visas.
Because we now have a biometric-based entry and exit system, we will know when someone's face has entered South Africa.
Schreiber says the underfunding of the BMA is receiving serious attention from Cabinet, but he adds Parliament should also suggest budget trade-offs to help fund an expansion of the BMA's human and technological capabilities. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News. Parliament.
And at least 15 people have died and 27 are missing after an overloaded ferry capsized on Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba. Authorities say 77 passengers have been rescued. The boat, which overturned yesterday after hitting strong waves, was carrying more than 110 people. Rescue workers are still searching for some of the passengers. Gold is trading at $4,385.43 an ounce. The rand is at 16.19 to the dollar, 21.86 to the pound, 18.67 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $89.57 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 West. This is between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. While traveling on the M1 South, delays approaching Corlett Drive. There's also queuing traffic reported in Kaya Sand along Malibongwe Drive towards Witkoppen Road.
A cold and cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 11 and 14 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. It's Judgment Day for Sembiso Mdlalose, accused of starting the fire that killed 76 people at the Usindiso building in Johannesburg.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
had to let that play for a little longer today because I was requested yesterday by 4 people. 4 people said, please let that jingle that plays before your show play for longer because we love it. Apparently there's a thing about it. Where can people find this song? Is it a song? Is it AI? I don't know what it is, guys. I can't help. But a few of you have been asking me, where can we find the actual track or soundtrack? Angazi, but I'll try find out for you. So I've allowed it to play a little longer before I come in. So let's do this. Dumelang. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela show. I hope you're good this morning. Thank you for joining us here on 702. We start with the 702 open line, as always, on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. Here's a question. How comfortable are you with the private sector being brought in at local government to help with service delivery? Are you comfortable with that? What are you concerned about, if you are? I think, first of all, what we need to do and what we need to be honest about are the failures in service delivery at local government. We have to be honest about that. Do you have hope that government on its own can fix the dysfunction at our municipalities? I mean, how many times has the Auditor General painted a gloomy picture of the state of municipalities? Every single year. Doesn't the AG tell us the same story? Every single year, the AG almost tells us the same story about these metros. And things always seem to be getting worse. So what do we do then? Do we wait and hope for things to get better, or do we think of other options? Because national government has tried to intervene in various ways. Remember, there was the district development model. Who remembers that? When Pravin Gordhan was the Minister of Kokta, I remember I used to report about the back to basics model. So we have been chopping and changing our strategies on how to fix local government. And perhaps that's partly why municipalities are not getting better. But we are a country with many plans, with many frameworks and strategies, but we're not seeing the results fast enough. So why do we have so many interventions to try and help municipalities if they're not working? I remember when Zweli Mkhize was on the hot seat as the Minister of Kokta, he appointed a team of 82 experts and sent them to distressed municipalities because he had announced that only 7% of municipalities were classified as functioning well. Are you kidding me? Only 7%? And that was many years ago. Things have really worsened, if we're being honest. But then again, you've got councillors who can't read financial statements or deal with complex issues affecting municipalities. So what do we expect? Remember the presidency, a while back, they indicated that only 53% of senior municipal managers meet their minimum competency levels. Why is government okay with having councillors who can't do that? Why are they okay with having councillors who only need grade 10 as their highest level of education? And yet, they have such complex governance issues to deal with. And that's another chat for another day. Treasury has tried to even withhold the equitable share to municipalities to try get them to sort out their finances and get them in order. And that's an action that was intended as a corrective measure to get these errant municipalities to change their behavior and put proper governance and oversight in place. But such measures do have their limits because the equitable share transfers cannot be withheld for a specific period without parliamentary approval. And some offending municipalities, I would imagine, can probably wait that out without even blinking. So the question again, I ask, isn't it time to explore reforms that would see public-private partnerships at local government? Is there a space to facilitate private sector participation in the delivery of basic services to residents? Is that what you see? I asked this question to the finance minister when we had him on the show last week, Enoch Kotongwan.
Isn't it time, Minister, to explore reforms that would see public-private partnerships at local government? And do you think there's space to facilitate private sector participation in the delivery of services, of basic services to residents?
We are at all those options, particularly in delivering water services, in looking at other services as well. You will, over the next few months, you will hear the Department of Water and Sanitation making some announcements in that regard.
Okay, so we're going to likely see that these services are going to be run like a business.
Yeah, we've got what is called the metro trading services, where in the metros we're introducing an environment where all utilities, water and electricity, are run on a professional basis. That's a program we're running with the metros.
Okay, and what do you say to those who are concerned that this may open the door to like a whole privatization, which can ultimately affect just the pricing and just how much the residents pay for services?
The question you must ask as a resident, you yourself as a resident, your choice is whether you get a service or not. Now, it may well be because of the efficiency of that service, you are quite comfortable with the price. So, again, that's some of the things we've got to take into account. Government, in the case where a service becomes expensive, government has got to step in and subsidize. By the way, we are providing about 110 billion rand for these basic services, subsidies in municipalities. The unfortunate thing is that the indigent do not get it because some of those municipalities don't have indigent register.
So that's what the finance minister said. He says you have to make a choice. Do you want the delivery of services or not? And I guess it's the same question I'm asking this morning. Are you okay to pay a little extra for water, electricity services in your metro as long as they're delivered? You don't mind paying an extra cent. I just think things are already overpriced. I mean, government itself is struggling with regulating the price of electricity, right? Yes, we've got NESA, who's the regulator who decides. It's outside of government. But I'm saying, can you imagine with what the price of electricity is right now? What's going to happen when privatization kicks in? Or these public-private partnerships? What are we going to have? The DA is also looking into this, but the DA is clear that it doesn't consider this privatization. According to the party, in fact, municipal councils would keep control of policy, tariff setting, and service standards. So private companies would only provide capital and technical expertise, under various contracts. So do you think it's time for public-private partnerships to become standard practice in local government service delivery? And is there room for private sector participation in the delivery of basic services to residents? Because private sectors, when you bring them in, you must be comfortable with the idea that they're going to run that like a business. How do you run a business? It must make sense. You care about profit, you care about ROIs, you care about margins. That's how you run a business. Any efficient business takes those kind of elements seriously. What then becomes the consequences of running these basic services that government is failing to deliver at local government? What are the consequences of bringing the private sector? Or do you look at it and think, but what's the point? At the end of the day, I end up spending more money anyway because there's no water being delivered, there's no electricity being delivered, so I pay extra to try and offset that consequence. So maybe when you've got service delivery going well and smoothly, you don't have to worry about those services being delivered because they're going well. So all you are comfortable with is just pay a little extra rand. But as long as the services get delivered. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702. I want us to also reflect on the job numbers that were released yesterday. I mean, the job crisis in this country is just deepening and deepening. The official unemployment rate has risen to 33.6% in the second quarter, and young people continue to bear the brunt of that crisis. I mean, the number of unemployed young people between the ages of 15 and 34 has increased by, listen to this, 264,000. That takes the total to around 5 million. Youth unemployment on its own, that has now climbed to almost 50%, 47.4%. And I guess these numbers are particularly significant today because it's International Youth Day, a day observed every year to highlight the challenges young people face, but also the opportunities and the potential that they represent. But the reality is, behind these statistics are the very same young people that are sitting at home. They're sending out CV after CV. They're going for interviews and relying on their parents or family members, and for some, simply trying to find ways to keep going while they wait for an opportunity. So I want to know from you this morning, what does youth unemployment actually look like in your home and in your community? If you have an unemployed young person in your household, how are they coping? And maybe you are the young person who's currently unemployed. What do you do while you look for work? Like, are you doing a full-time job while you're trying to get a job you qualify for? Are you studying? Are you volunteering? Are you doing odd jobs? Are you starting something of your own? Have you found yourself struggling to stay motivated? And if you've got young people around you, how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them busy? Because I can only imagine what the hardest part is about being unemployed. Is it the financial pressure? Is it the rejection? Is it the uncertainty? Or you're constantly losing motivation? Let's talk about that on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702. At 10, we'll be in conversation with the Department of Labor. So the Department of Labor has been doing these inspections at workplaces. And honestly, I was shocked to figure out that out of the 114 workplaces they inspected in the first national blitz, only 3 were fully compliant. So this is clearly evidence of a much deeper systematic problem in the South African labor market. So we'll talk to the Department of Labor about their enforcement that they've intensified against employers who hire undocumented foreign nationals. This is as part of a broader effort to protect labor standards and promote fair competition and also create opportunities for South Africans. So that conversation is between 10 and 11. At 11, we'll do our Listener's Choice feature. Today, we're discussing the rise in illicit trade medicine in South Africa. And then at 11:30 for our sharing space, we'll hear a story from someone who probably has had their relationship ended because of politics. Do you talk about politics with your friend? Have you ever lost a friend because you differed on something political or something, current affairs issues or human rights issues, whatever it is? I'd like to hear your stories when we do our sharing space at 11:30. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hi, Clement and the beautiful listeners of 702. I say it will not work. You cannot take limited funds for service delivery and then you give to a company, a profit-making company. Most companies make a markup of up to 25%. And because private companies pay better than the public sector, which means that they will take up to half of the money for service delivery and make a profit. No, doesn't work. It's not different from tenders. The municipalities must do the work themselves. Thank you.
But they're failing. Huh? Guys, they're failing to do the basic work. What's the next option? And that's what I'm trying to explore is, okay, fine, you don't want the private sector to be involved. I hear you. But what's the next option? Because government has tried at national level to come up with all these different interventions, the district development model, the back to basics that I mentioned earlier, and others. They've even tried. Zweli Mkhize sent over 80 experts to municipalities because the only 7% were functioning well. What do we do? At the end of the day, we still have councillors, some of whom can't even read financial statements. They don't even know how to deal with the very complex issues that are affecting municipalities. They just don't have the skills and the capacity for the positions that they occupy. That's a reality in some of the municipalities. So what do? We spoke to Salga yesterday, and they said all you need to even be in council is you just need to be a community activist. That's it. Just be a community activist, have a grade 12, and you're good to go. And they have to train councillors. They take them, he said, on what? A couple of weeks training. But the fact that you can have 62% of councillors unable to use basic computers to enable the passing of crucial municipal budgets, that is wild. And it's the political parties who don't deploy people with capacity. Because the legislation doesn't even require that these councillors or MPs or even ministers must have at least some minimum education level. It doesn't. And sometimes I think that causes problems. So why can't we professionalize the legislatures? Why can't we professionalize the city councils, even the executive, to ensure the culture of competence? But that's never going to happen because most politicians never care about the professionalization of services or how do we do better. They care more about themselves. So what do we do? Because we have tried and tried. Unless you've got people who can take over and that changes are going to come. Maybe you're thinking Frank Chikani can make some changes. Maybe Helen Zilla or Hemen Mashaba or who else? Lukhona Mnguni or Ntsiki Mazwai, as I see she's also there. Who else? Oh, Dr. Tlaleng. There are many mayoral candidates. I don't think we can put our reliance on one person and think they're going to do magic. They're going to need some help. Tumelo, what do you think? You're calling us from Naturena. Tumelo, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Manyathela.
Sure.
Yeah, an interesting question it is. Mr. Manyathela, South Africa is the most unequal society in the world. In South Africa, 60% of young people are unemployed. At the heart of the private sector in South Africa becoming very profitable. So the risk of government, handing over the responsibility of businesses.
Oh, I'm losing you a bit, Tumelo. I'm sorry, brother. I'm losing you a bit.
Yeah.
I was losing you there. Please try again. You said the risk is?
So the risk is that if the government is going to hand over the responsibility of service delivery to the same private sectors, being responsible for the inequalities that are, pervasive in our society, we are then saying it must be because of affordability that you get to live in South Africa. We don't want that. So the state, at every cost, we must fight for it so that it's capacitated for it to do what.
Oh, my brother, I'm sorry, Tumelo. I'm struggling. I don't know. Maybe it's the area where you are. I'm sorry that we can't continue with that line. It's completely deteriorated. Peter, you are in Sprayed View. What are your thoughts?
Clement, morning. Let
Sure.
me be quick. Clement, you see, in the UK, there's some utility that was with the private sector, and guess what? It's been transferred back to the state. Okay? As the study. And the second one, Clement, because of the incompetence, how public entities have been hollowed over a period of time, what they could consider is the BOT model. Build, operate, and transfer on a case-by-case basis. Whether it's the people side in terms of retired engineers, whether you're there to sort out the sewer treatment plant, you put in your money, you operate and recover some of your capital. And then back to the municipality. Hopefully by that time, they'll have got their act together. so that they can have the capacity to operate and run it going forward. But for everything to be in the hands of the private sector, Clement, is called a disaster. It's a bandage.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, I think even the DA says, they're still going to, even our government, they're not going to place the entire responsibility on the private sector. That's why the Democratic Alliance also clarified and said the council will still keep control of policy. They will set the tariffs, service standards, and then private companies only come in to provide capital and technical expertise. But also they speak as if the private company is just going to come and throw money and say, oh, let's fix. No, if you're bringing them in, they don't just bring capital. What's their return on investment? So how comfortable are we with the fact that the pricing may change? Maybe not drastically, maybe drastically. Are you comfortable with that for as long as you're receiving services? Because I honestly think as a working South African in this country, I feel like I'm overtaxed. On top of the tax you pay to SARS, you're paying for private education for your kids. You're paying to live in a place with high walls. Or you're paying for extra private security because we are being failed in that regard. And now you're telling me I must accommodate another cost because a government I'm paying taxes to is failing to do its basic duties?
Morning, Clement. I think this highlights actually the importance of political manifestos, because as somebody who lives in Gauteng, I would have never guessed that the DA intends of just privatizing state capacity, which I reject with the contempt it deserves. It has failed in many other areas, in many other jurisdictions, in many other countries, so it will also fail here in South Africa. All the private sector wants is profit, and we like acting as if the private sector is holier than thou. For me, the biggest corruption scandal here ever in South Africa is the Steinhoff corruption. Thank you. This is KG from Ekurhuleni.
Morning, Clement. With regards to your question about whether we should have privatization, I think change is required because for the longest time we've had the government providing services, and I know it's outsourcing, etc., and the contractors as well assisting the government. Service delivery has not been at the level that needs to be, so I think change is good. Let's give privatization a chance. Let's employ more youth. We've had the unemployment rate being increased once again. We need to get more people working in the economy, and we need competent people. So really the most important thing is that let's get the right people, the right jobs. Let's value competence as opposed to whether something needs to be privatized or provided by the government. Thanks for a great show. I thoroughly enjoy listening to you all the way from London. Take care. Bye.
Oh, thank you so much for listening all the way in London. I hope you guys are warm there. It's so freezing in Johannesburg today. In fact, this entire week has been crazy. Let me hear what some of you think on 011-883-0702. Send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. It's 9:31. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The High Court in Johannesburg is expected to hand down judgment in the case of the man accused of starting a fire that killed 76 people at the Usindiso building in Johannesburg. Loss faces 76 counts of murder and 12 for attempted murder over the 2023 blaze that ripped through the hijacked 5-story building. In 2024, Mdlalose admitted to starting the fire on the ground floor while trying to burn the body of a man he claimed to have killed during a robbery. An alleged gangster linked to the murders of 2 police officers in Reiger Park is expected to appear in the Boksburg Magistrates Court this morning. The 23-year-old was taken in for questioning earlier this week and subsequently arrested after more investigations. He's facing 2 counts of murder and possession of unlicensed firearms. And the trial of gang boss Nafis Modak is set to turn its attention back to the attempted murder of attorney William Booth today as cross-examination of co-accused Taufik Brown continues. Brown is one of 14 accused standing trial alongside Modak on a range of charges, including murder, racketeering, fraud, and money laundering. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
There's slow-moving traffic on the M2 West approaching the Crown interchange as you come out of Elof Street while heading towards Amalgam. More delays on the main M2 West. This is between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road. Then if you're traveling in the Eldorado Park area, we do have delays on the Golden Way Highway. This is between Union Avenue and East Street. That's due to roadworks there. There's also roadworks causing a bit of a hold-up reported along the N3 North right at the Gilulis interchange. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Everyone has their first, that life-changing moment when the music spoke to your soul and you both listened. With global icons Kamasi Washington, Angelique Kidjo, Themba Mkhize and Africa Mkhize, Ibrahim Malouf, Flowetree, Manana, Internet Ati, and over 40 world-class acts. This is Jazz Reignited, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, 25th and 26th September. Buy your weekend pass now via Ticketmaster.
Sometimes life gives you more than you expected. Like when you were expecting twins and were blessed with quadruplets. Joy. Enjoy more family time in the Havao H6 with the spacious interior and advanced.
Enhance your deal at 149 Rand extra per month and get the new Galaxy Watch 9 eSIM. Available in store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Drivers, this winter, South Africa's roads can change in seconds. One moment it's clear, next, dense fog blinds your view. Don't drive on memory, drive on visibility. If you can't see clearly beyond 50 meters, pull over safe on visibility. If you can't see clearly beyond 50 meters, pull over safely at the nearest truck stop. Stay alert, stay alive, check your surroundings and inform others. See and be seen. Let's navigate winter roads together. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock, it's the 702 open line. We're talking about the suggestion of bringing in the private sector at local government to help with the delivery of services. It's something Treasury has considered and wants to implement. Apparently, one of the departments at national government is preparing a paper on that. But also the Democratic Alliance has spoken about it at their manifesto launch over the weekend. But they're saying, don't worry too much because we'll still have control over policy, over tariff setting, service standards. These guys are just going to come and bring their technical expertise. I think, you can't expect the private sector to just come in and throw money at fixing your issues with nothing in return. So what are your thoughts on that? I've also asked you about this crisis of unemployment that's deepening and deepening. 33.6% is the rate of unemployment in the second quarter. When you look at the youth unemployment alone, we're looking at 47.4%. And I want to hear what the stories are of young people around you that are unemployed. What are they doing? How are you supporting them? Are they trying to do some work, maybe some odd jobs? Are they trying to volunteer while they wait and they continue to apply? How do you even help keep them motivated, knowing what the reality is? I mean, our economy is not even growing enough to create jobs. Our economy is not even growing to the level where we can see significant jobs being created. Let's start with your WhatsApps on that on 0727021702.
Morning, Clement. On the issue of unemployment, I think so. In my household, I'm the only one working and that's employed, and the only one that's taking care of everybody. I have two nephews, all of them unemployed. One has been unemployed for 5 years, and the second one is last year. So it's kind of hard to me. And when it comes to the issue of money, it's not about who's in charge, it's about who's trying to benefit. That Demoroti Pretoria.
Shimron, you are in Sandton. What are your thoughts on this? Good morning.
Morning, Clement. Morning to your listeners on this freezing wintry day. So in 2021, my wife and I did an amazing project with another friend of ours called Creative Gatherings, where we went to the poorest part, well, one of the poorest parts of Soweto called Freedom Park. And so my wife's a musician, and she has a couple of musician friends, extremely talented. One of them, his name is Maanza. Anyway, so we started this project, and we got the kids from that area who literally have nothing, and we got a grassroots movement, specifically a guy called Tato, who was an extremely talented fashion designer, and thankfully now he's starting to be successful. But the fact is, he was literally living next to a rubbish dump, and we couldn't. And he'd complained to the city council so many times. He couldn't do his work there. His clients didn't want to come visit him, etc. So he said, "Listen, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just going to take it on myself." So him and a few mates cleared the whole rubbish dump themselves, and they made an entire children's play area with literally nothing. They had tires that they used as chairs, and the people, they got the kids from the area to bring their kids there, and obviously the kids had nothing. So they said a brilliant idea of kind of like a crowdfunding type of thing. They asked them to just bring R2, and they put all the R2 together, and then they could afford to provide juices and meals and some sweets, and even they were able to buy some toys. And then eventually we got funding for this program, which we did in 2021, and we brought foreigners from Austria and France and to do a kind of an expo where Tato taught them how the basics of dress design, tailoring. A friend of ours, Anele Koza, taught them photography, and my wife, a musician, and Moshe, singer, also a musician. They all were involved in the music.
And this all started with just young people in the community who were probably unemployed, and they just wanted to do something for their community. Shimron, thank you for sharing that with us in Sandton. And that's it. And for some young people who are unemployed, the opportunity exists maybe in the area where you live, the area where you've grown up. There's a difference you can make, and I think those are the things that really matter. I mean, from a rubbish dump, an area like that, and you turn it into a play area for young people. That's quite extraordinary. Pumlani, you are in Rustenburg. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Michelle in Pretoria. Okay, Clement. I want to make quick points, and I'm hoping someone is listening. Okay, Clement. I've been unemployed for 6 years. And after I lost my job, I've been observing a lot of things, because I've been driving Uber, driving around, and you get to see a lot of things happening and whatnot. And Clement, I can tell you for free that, you see, this education of ours is not working. For now, look at this mash and mash thing. I was I was driving someone from Durban saying that he's struggling to get a hairdresser now. They are struggling to get nail techs, meaning that most of these industries were dominated by people from outside of the country. And in our communities, or maybe like in our rural areas, we don't have technical, these colleges that teaches these things of which maybe someone can braid, someone can do nails, and those markets, they're very big, because you find out someone is making 300 profit from one person. So I mean, if someone makes 300 profit from one person, it's enough, to take care of their family. If you calculate that in a month, it's about 9,000 rand. It's few jobs that can actually pay you that amount. But our government is not looking to that. They are more focused on these other subjects that they don't really help. They will tell you go and do math and science, and most of the kids are struggling to do that because of the resources and whatnot. So if our government can try and implement colleges around rural areas whereby they'll be teaching these skills that these foreigners had, so that they can be able to tap those markets, because clearly they are failing to create jobs. Another thing, Clement, I myself went to a government institute which is said for or something like that. I don't know if you know it. Normally they fund for businesses. Clement, when I went there, I had an idea. The idea was so brilliant that I can tell you, Clement, that idea was going to work. I worked on it so much. I did my research, everything I was told. I went for trainings and whatnot and whatnot. One thing that they didn't tell me, they told me that, unfortunately, you need to have already implemented the idea. The idea should be running. So with the amount that I was looking for, they told me that I need to have at least 10% of that amount. And according to my project was cost almost 5 million or something. And I'm asking them, okay, guys, I've been unemployed for 6 months. How do you expect me to have R1 million or maybe 500,000 in my account? It doesn't make sense. So the rules of them starting a business, they are highly impossible for someone to able to start a business. Driving around, Clement, I've met youth, people going out looking for jobs. They have brilliant ideas, but where do you get the funding?
Yeah, and the support. Pumlani, in Rustenburg, thank you. Let's go to your WhatsApps on 0727021702.
Hi, Clement. Look, we need to be clear about what we mean by private sector. Are we talking about rent-seeking tenderpreneurs who just go out there to get you cups or mugs or tires at exorbitant prices when we can go into the free market, open market, and them directly market price? Or are we talking about people who bring in real expertise? Also, what would that mean when we employ people in government structures at very high to do the work? The work is done by consultants outside. So you pay huge salaries to people who know absolutely nothing, and the work is done by outsiders, by the so-called private sector. Maybe then we should balance that. If you're going to have the work done by the private sector with expertise, not just entrepreneurs who bring no value, then we mustn't pay huge salaries to people whose job it would be just to find the right private sector players to come and do the work.
Good morning, Clems. You see, Clems, the biggest mistake we can ever make as South Africans is to always trust in government, even though we are aware that things are falling apart and they're getting even worse. You see, outsourcing or partnering with the private sector for the delivery of services is a brilliant idea. But the moment we want to politicize that, we will be in trouble. It should be about services. Forget about the private sector itself. We are part of that private sector. So for those who want to politicize everything, they will make it seem like the private sector belongs to white people. No, it doesn't. It belongs to all of us. So it's a good idea to privatize certain services that are delivered by municipalities. Thanks, Clems.
Clement, good morning. This is Aaron from Centurion. I think a quick turnaround time would be one of the advantages, and if accountability, people would be held accountable, that would be good. However, I still am concerned that that whole move would still be open to corruption. And if we were to be able to hold those contractors accountable in terms of the work done or not done, that would be amazing. However, if they can just close the door to corruption and hold people accountable, that would be beautiful.
Hi, Clement. The private sector is the one that has been corrupting the government. We know how they are corrupting those public administrators who are doing the procurement. And they will also take the government to court in order to win those tenders. And the other thing, Clement, if the government will be able to pay for private sector to take charge of some entities, it means the government has enough to capacitate itself with more staff and skills. It has enough, and it will actually even employ people permanent to do that. I mean, take a look at what's now happening in this MTN thing. They say the data doesn't expire, but now they're making the time expire. So if you buy data, you will find your previous data waiting for you, but the time has expired. No, thanks to private sector. Also.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to do this. I honestly speaking, I really have no hope that our government can get it right. And the reason I'm saying that is because I have seen national government try to intervene with different strategies and models under different ministers at COCTA. And I've reported on those over the years, and I've never seen it have an impact. Even when experts were sent to these metros or municipalities that are struggling, which is almost all of them, really, I've never seen really effective change. And the fact that even in councils, the same people who are supposed to hold the executive accountable and deal with complex issues affecting municipalities and communities at local government, they don't need to have studied. They don't need to have an undergraduate qualification, like not even a 3-month certificate. And I struggle with that because for as long as we don't professionalize the public service at local government, I don't know if we're going to get anywhere. But then again, when you professionalize, then you are seen as if you are creating unnecessary limitations for politicians who may want their own people to be in council. Because do you think politicians just go and think, let's look at who is in the community who is actually a brilliant engineer, or who's in the community who's a brilliant community leader who may come from a different party, but let's bring them in because the municipality needs those skills. No, it's mostly, which party are you with? Okay, come, let's see where we fit you in. For as long as we're not professionalizing local government, we're not going to go anywhere. And I think we are far from that. So the next option to look at then is, could the private sector help? But I'm also quite cautious about that because I know how impactful that will be on our pockets. If you're going to bring in the private sector through these public-private partnerships, at some point, it may affect how much you pay for those services. The private sector, sure, they'll come, they'll run it as a business, and you're probably going to get your water quick around, the quick turnaround time, like that listener said. But are you prepared to pay an extra buck on top of what you're paying for, on top of the tax? Remember, we're already paying government to do what we are just about to pay more for them to fix. You're already paying for your taxes. And now you're going to pay extra because government is failing to do what they should be doing with your taxes. It's just unfair. It really is unfair.
Morning, Clement. This is Swalimo from the Val. Yes, Clement. Regarding the unemployment for the youth, we have a big problem. And our most problem is the skills. These guys, they don't have skills. Most of our youth, they don't have skills. I run a business between Joburg South and engineering workshop, where even in Joburg that side, sometimes we will hire people like Zimbabweans. This guy, they can work, they can that's how these things of the foreigners. I think us taking foreign guys, these guys, they work, they are skillful, try to learn from them, it'd be much better because our problem is skills. These guys, they don't have skills.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
Got some messages coming up on WhatsApp, so let's start there. Some text messages, and then we'll come back to some voice notes. Kanyisile says, Clement, maybe we should change the way that we vote, or we get rid of provincial and local governments and remain with the national government. No tenders, no jobs for pals, and minimum corruption. Kanyisile, many people have suggested that before. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Another person on unemployment says, hi, Clement, I've been unemployed for years now. I only get temporary jobs here and there, but I do sell on the streets to provide food for my daughter to get her to school. Great show there. Thank you so much, Benny, for your message. Another one says, Clement Klola here from Bedford View. Honestly, I really don't mind paying extra as long as the services are available. Government has failed to provide the bare minimum. If having uninterrupted supply of electricity and water by all means, let's bring in the private sector. That's a message there from Xolela. Do you see how unfair it is? I mean, Xolela is probably already paying tax. And now he's so desperate to have services delivered, like the bare minimum. You're so desperate for the bare minimum that you're like, you know what, it's fine. I'll pay an extra 500 Rand if I have to. I'll pay an extra 1,000 Rand or whatever the amount will be, as long as there's going to be uninterrupted services on top of what you're paying for. Makashule Ghana is calling us on 011-883-0702. Thank you for calling, Makashule. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Hope you are doing well.
I'm all right, Chair.
A very interesting conversation. And I think one of the things is we have to acknowledge the frustration of residents and South Africans insofar as municipal or the delivery of municipal services are concerned. But as we do express that frustration, we must not think that there's such a thing as surplus skill that resides in the private sector that is currently not utilized. In many instances, when the private sector, the so-called private sector, quote unquote, comes in, it uses the same existing skills. What you, in effect, are looking for, it's the way of managing the resources, the human and other resources. But there's no surplus skill that is waiting there in a room that's called the private sector room. That's why even when a private hospital is built, it does not come with its own skill. It goes to the public sector to go and poach the skill from the public sector. So the very same people that are teachers, that are doctors, that are nurses in private schools, private hospitals, were once in the public sector. So what we should be talking about is how do we then ensure that there's proper management of resources, because that's what we are talking about, proper management of resources. So there's no surplus skill that is sitting in the private sector room. And in any case, and this is what I said to your producer, in any case, as it is right now, there's a lot of private sector players that are part of the problem in the municipal services or the non-provision of municipal services. So whether you're talking about the supply of equipment, many contracts that are being done is done by private players. So this sometimes we must disabuse ourselves from this notion that there's a surplus skill that is waiting to take over from the current skill set available at the municipal level. It doesn't exist. It will use, even if you were to bring a private sector player in Johannesburg, that private sector player will not come in with
their own people.
It will have to use the same resources. So we must never abandon the need to professionalize the public service and the municipal service employees. That is very critical. There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
And you cannot wish that away.
But I also think, Makashule, as political parties, you guys also need to give us the best. I mean, it can't be that as political parties you're comfortable with a John or a Clement who is going to come into council and run for mayor and doesn't even have matric or hasn't even done a 3 months course just to understand I'm not saying you must be the most educated person in society, but if you're going to deal with Johannesburg or Ekurhuleni or whatever metro out there, how could political parties be so comfortable with people who just don't have even the skills or the required knowledge to deal with the complexities of that municipality? That's what actually also leads to the challenges that we have with service delivery when you don't have competent people at the top.
I agree. I agree that in many times, but sometimes we also, when we say this, we also don't encourage those with skills like yourselves and others to also get involved in the politics, because government, democratic government, by its nature, by its definition, it's a form of self-government. We have to send the best amongst ourselves to go and look after our money that we pay through. But if we and I've said this many a times, if the middle class are the main culprit of this, think that for some reason there will just be in the same way that manna fell from heaven, will come all of a sudden overnight. You'll have people who are properly skilled getting into government, but you yourself, you are not getting involved. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
That's why we say as Rising Suns, we need new leaders, but the middle class must get involved.
And participate.
You can't privatize that aspect of things, or wish that maybe there's a surplus capacity somewhere waiting to, let's call it, emancipate ourselves from these problems that we face.
Got you. Yeah. Makashule, please go fix government, and when it's really a fertile environment for some of the middle class professionals, they'll come in, because it's also quite risky to join government, honestly, if we're being honest at this stage, right? You're thinking about interference, political interference, and then, you get entangled in so many things. So the environment is not so suitable and fertile. So maybe that needs to change first. And then you're going to see the middle class really running towards opportunities there.
In a world of noise, one thing is still clear. Akwele. Introducing the new, still flavored range from Akwele. Lemon mint, mango passion fruit, berry, peach apricot. Still made from Akwele 100% natural spring water. Delicious high vitamins, low oils, and still full of joy. It's new, it's refreshing, it's flavored, it's still Akwele.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bet brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Responsibility is about staying in control, so you can enjoy it your way. If you support, help is available. Gambling toll-free counselling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Vandalism and theft of water infrastructure affects everyone. Damage to pipes, meters, valves, reservoirs, and other critical infrastructure can result in water outages, low pressure, sewer spillages, and costly repairs that impact communities across Johannesburg. Johannesburg Water urges residents to help protect public infrastructure by reporting suspicious activity affecting the water network. To report incidents or water-related faults, call Johannesburg Water on 010-061-4470. That's 010-061-4470. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sriso Zulu. As the Madala Commission shifts its focus to hit squads in KwaZulu-Natal, the province's IPID Deputy Director of Investigations, Len John, is the first witness to testify. The Commission will examine how some gangs in KZN have infiltrated the criminal justice system. Cases involving cash and transit heists and drug syndicates disguised as taxi businesses will also be scrutinized. John is expected to share more information during his testimony.
I'm an adult male and deputy director in the investigation that is attached to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate in KwaZulu-Natal, situated at the Marine Building, 22 Dorothy Nyembe Street, Durban. The contents of the statement are within my personal knowledge, save where the contrary appears from the context hereof, and are to the best of my belief both true and correct.
The High Court in Johannesburg is expected to hand down judgments in the case involving a man accused of starting a fire that killed 76 people at the Usindiso building in Johannesburg. Stembiso Mdlalose faces 76 counts of murder and 12 for attempted murder over the 2023 fire that ripped through the hijacked 5-story property. In 2024, Mdlalose admitted to starting the blaze on the ground floor while trying to burn the body of a man he allegedly killed during a robbery. Dimakaso Leshuro has more.
The state alleges he assaulted a man known as KB over a drug debt, mistakenly believed he was dead, and then set his body alight after dousing it with petrol. The fire quickly spread through the 5-story hijacked building, killing 76 people and injuring dozens more. Mdlalose twice admitted to starting the fire, but later withdrew those admissions. He claimed he was high on drugs and that a Tanzanian drug kingpin forced him to take the blame. He later told the court he confessed because he was homeless and believed prison would at least provide him with food and shelter. The matter was previously heard at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, where the High Court was sitting, before being transferred to Johannesburg. It is now expected to return to Palm Ridge today, where the long-awaited judgment is expected. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
An alleged gangster linked to the murders of 2 police officers in Recha Park is expected to appear in the Boksburg Magistrates Court today. The 23-year-old was taken in for questioning earlier this week and subsequently arrested after more investigations. He's facing 2 counts of murder and possession of unlicensed firearms. The officers were shot while responding to gunfire in Recha Park last Friday. 2 women also died in that attack. Kosikona Mnisi has more.
Police say they've linked the suspect to the killing of anti-gang unit members Constable Tlomatsana and Sbego in Recha Park, but not to the deaths of the 2 women. 2 R5 rifles belonging to the officers were recovered during a tracing operation at the Wadugatole informal settlement in Germiston earlier this week. Police say the alleged gangster was out on bail at the time of his arrest and has several pending cases, including 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and possession of an unlicensed firearm. Investigations into the killing are continuing, with police pursuing other people who may have been involved. Or see Kona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
And Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber says a proper northern border fence remains the biggest inhibitor to getting illegal migration under control. Today, the department will officially launch the electronic travel authorization system that will keep closer tabs on who is entering South Africa and for how long they are intending to stay, using biometrics and facial recognition. As around 90,000 undocumented foreign nationals having recently been repatriated to their countries of origin, Parliament's Home Affairs Committee has questioned Schreiber about long-term plans to keep undocumented migrants out of the country. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
The Border Management Authority says the recent repatriations and deportations are not proving to be a deterrent to those seeking to re-enter South Africa through illegal means. But Minister Leon Schreiber says the new ETA system that will be unveiled today is the start of a series of measures under its digital transformation strategy designed to clamp down on illegal immigration.
It starts with tourists and short-stay visitors and airports, and then it expands into your other visa categories, things like study visas, where we've had many challenges over the years.
The new system will be able to warn visitors when they are about to overstay their visas.
Because we now have a biometric-based entry and exit system, we will know when someone's face has entered South Africa.
Schreiber says the underfunding of the BMA is receiving serious attention from Cabinet, but he adds Parliament should also suggest budget trade-offs to help fund an expansion of the BMA's human and technological capabilities. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Gold is trading at $4,385.43 an ounce. The rand is at 16.19 to the dollar, 21.86 to the pound, 18.67 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $89.57 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North right as you approach New Road. That's due to an accident in Midrand. There's also an accident scene reported on the R21 North approaching Olifantsfontein Road.
A cold and cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 11 and 14 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, as the Madlanga Commission focus to hit squads in KwaZulu-Natal. The province's IPID Deputy Director of Investigations, Len John, is the first witness to testify.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I trust you're good this morning, and thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. I was really interested in what Makashule Gana said, who is one of the leaders at Rise Mzansi. He called in just before we wrapped up the 702 open line. Oh, he's also the chair. He's also the chair of the impeachment committee. That's why I was calling him chair. But he called in and he said, middle class, where are you? Where are you? Why are you not part of the solution? And I think maybe we must pick up that conversation tomorrow on the open line. Why are you not considering being part of the solution? And if you are already working for government and maybe you left the private sector or that's where you've always been, I'd like to know what motivates you and how do you deal with the pressures that come with that job and responsibility. Because if you are in procurement, government, good luck. If you are in management, good luck. Because the political interference is still there in some sectors in government. And I think that's why there are many people out there who are professionals who would like to be part of the solution. They just don't think they will survive the toxicity of some parts of the state, because it's not all of it. But yeah, the experiences we've heard from other people, what we read about in the papers, it's really crazy what happens there. But also equally so, I mean, when we talk about the corporate world, they've got their own toxicities. So maybe tomorrow we should have that chat. As a middle-class South African, because that's a question he was directing. He was directing that question to. Why have you not been part of a solution? Why are you avoiding government at all costs? And if you've always been there and you started recently or you started a long time ago, I'd like to know how have you survived? What are the challenges you've dealt with? Or maybe there haven't been challenges, it's just been successes, and also knowing that you're doing country duty. So let's pick up that chat tomorrow on the open line, shall we? Remember, at 11 o'clock, we're going to do our Listener's Choice feature. That's an opportunity for you to co-curate the content of the show with us. If you've got a topic you want us to discuss on the show that we haven't discussed enough, or maybe we missed certain aspects or angles of that conversation and you want us to return to it, just send me an email on cm@702.co.za, and then we'll put your topic on our Listener's Choice feature. Today, we've been asked to discuss the rise in illicit trade of medicine in South Africa, because the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority says the availability of illicit medicine in the country is actually growing. There are criminal syndicates that are increasingly targeting weight loss products, painkillers, and even chronic medications such as HIV treatment. So how is this being dealt with, and how cautious should you be of potential illicit trade of medicine in the country? That's our chat at 11. At 11:30, we'll do the sharing space. And if you've got a story you want to share with us, remember the email address, the same one, cm@702.co.za. We'll tell you today what story has been shared with us.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
Right now, we start our conversation with the Department of Labor. I'm joined by Jomo Sibia, who is the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor, and I want us to discuss the state of labor law compliance in the country. Can you believe that out of the 114 employers or workplaces, I should say, that were inspected in the first national blitz by the department, only 3, that's out of 114 workplaces, only 3 were fully compliant? This is clearly evidence of a much deeper systematic problem in the labor market in this country. Government, yes, has intensified these enforcement operations against employers who hire undocumented foreign nationals. And this is part of a broader effort to protect labor law standards and promote fair competition, but also create opportunities for South Africans. But when they find what they have found, what do they do next? Because authorities have found widespread non-compliance among employers. 114 workplaces inspected, only 3 are compliant. There were 137 foreign nationals that were arrested, I'm told. So these inspections, as you know, come against the backdrop of the anti-illegal immigration protests across the country and just the growing pressure on government to strengthen enforcement. So please help me welcome Jomo Sibiya, who is the Deputy Minister of Labour and Employment. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother Clement, and good morning to your listeners at home.
Thank you for making time for us. So I was really shocked to read that only 3 of the 114 workplaces inspected in the first blitz were fully compliant. Like, what does that tell you, Deputy Minister, about the state of labor law compliance in the country? And is it evidence of a deeper systematic problem in the labor market?
Quite correct, Clement. It's a picture, the picture that was painted in our first national blitz, which we initiated for the first time, where we had all the provinces at the same time doing the same thing, where we were doing the inspection and enforcement operations. The picture that was painted on that day is literally the picture that we always find every day when we do inspection and enforcement work. The employers in our country, Clement, are hell-bent on non-complying with our labor laws. The level of compliance in South Africa is very low. But compliance in South Africa in general, beyond the issues of labor, the issue of compliance is one problematic area where non-compliance has become a culture in our country. And it's one thing that we need to change. You have employers who systematically do these things, but also budget for non-compliance, who are quite determined that even if you find them, even if you get them, that they are not complying with our labor laws, they are prepared to pay fines. Doesn't matter how much the fine is, because they budget for the fine. So that's why we are moving now towards changing that picture and doing things differently. But it paints the picture that is dire when it comes to the level of non-compliance in the labor space.
Yeah, and of course, if the compliance is low, Deputy Minister, that also means enforcement is low. I mean, we have employers that have been allowed to operate for so long without meeting the basic labor standards. So surely as government, you've been failing in enforcement, and that's actually what we are seeing now is the consequence of your failure in enforcing laws in these workplaces.
Clement, we must take criticism and take the blame.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Minister, we were losing you there a bit. We're losing you there a bit. Let's try that again. You said we must take criticism. Okay, that line is still cracking.
Oh.
Sorry, Deputy Minister. Let me do
I'm
this.
saying we must.
Let me do this. I'm going to take a quick ad break, and then we're going to try re-establish that line. The network is not so good. It was okay until you started answering my second question, and I really need the line to be clear for the listeners to hear our conversation. So I'm going to take a quick ad break. It's 17 minutes after 10 o'clock. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour.
Uncertainty is rising, but your business still has to deliver. Production targets need to be met. And when your workforce is out of balance, the cost is immediate. Too many employees, costs climb. Too few, productivity drops. Workforce staffing helps businesses stay in control with flexible workforce solutions deployed within 48 hours nationwide. Demand changes, your workforce change with it. Workforcestaffing.co.za. Stay productive, stay flexible, stay in control.
Welcome to September 9th. Inspired by the citizens of Africa, shaping rhythm in spring jerseys, its tradition of artistic excellence, inspired contemplation and self in wonder, gratitude, and community. Is in Dabo's ensemble, Nondo Xaluva, Vuyo Vionke Konti, and Shane Cooper's Spirit was limited tickets available from niroxarts.com Now is a project to benefit the arts. All is used to attain the grounds of the NC program and what.
Dad, how come Mom's not coming to my soccer game?
Well, Mom isn't allowed to come to your soccer games anymore.
Is it because she tried to tackle Coach KB for giving me a red card?
Maybe.
Humans who fiercely protect the people they love. Welcome. Search Liberty Protect to protect your life and legacy today. Liberty, in it with you, all of you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer, an authorized FSP, and part of the Standard Bank Group. T's and C's, risks and limitations apply.
The go-to music festival, the blockbuster movie or TV show, the chart-topping global hit, the radio show you love. Academy of Sound Engineering offers the most professional training and education in audio, entertainment, and the entertainment business. Get in touch, ase.co.za, or visit our world-class studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Academy of Sound Engineering, ultimate entertainment education.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
19 minutes after 10 o'clock, we're having a conversation this morning with Jomo Sibiya, who is the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, and we're discussing the state of labour law compliance in the country. We had interruptions with our network earlier on, Deputy Minister, but I was asking you if you can pick up from your response. I was asking you about, because you were decrying the low levels of compliance, and what I'm suggesting is that the reason compliance is low is because enforcement has been low. So why has government been failing in enforcement?
No, thank you, Clement. Once again, I think we must accept where we are being criticized, but also take the blame where we haven't been doing well. I believe that we will always do better when we also listen to criticism. Yes, we have been doing this work over the years, but the level maybe hasn't been at a level where we were able to deter this, I will call it criminality, because when you don't comply with any laws of the Republic, that's criminality. So our enforcement work has been also been problematized by the lack of resources in terms of the inspectors. We've got only 2,300 inspectors currently in the country, and we have to go to more than 2 million workplaces, which is literally not enough. So that's one area that we had to improve in, and there's work that is being done in dealing with that matter. As you remember that the President announced at the beginning of the year during SONA that we are getting 10,000 more inspectors. But also the manner things have been done, we have changed them quite a bit now. Where as government we are collaborating, we have the Department of Employment and Labour leading the operations, working with SAPS, working with Home Affairs. We now work together, because if we work together, we're able to deal with all the ills that you will find at your workplace. If they are illegal foreign immigrants, Home Affairs is there. If you need to arrest, police are there. So this has given us a bigger a grip on what is happening, but also giving us a tooth, some teeth to deal with the problem. We're able to make a huge impact now on the ground when we work together. We're improving, we're coordinating better. That's why we're going out every day, literally now. We take the blame that there has been some gaps, but those gaps are being closed. That's why even the issues of our labor migration policy, the issue of Employment Services Act that we are amending currently, it's part of trying to close the gaps and make sure that we are able to coordinate better, but also there's an impact that is being felt on the ground.
Yeah. So given the scale of this non-compliance though, that you've uncovered, do you think 10,000 inspectors is enough? And how will you ensure that these inspections are not a short-term campaign and they're actually going to make a difference?
Looking at what the International Labour Organization says and the ratio, we believe that the 10,000 will literally give us a huge mileage. We are going to make a huge impact. We are quite confident on that the 10,000 will really yield results. But further to that, I must say that we are not doing this for short-term purposes. And we're not responding to the 30th of June that was set as a do or die date, but also not responding to the marches that have been all over the country, which we can also acknowledge that, yes, they've made an impact. You'll remember, Clement, that some of us, since we have impact blitz operations, we took the operation, the inspection and operation and enforcement work, operation work to another level almost every day since 2024. The marches and many other things that came into being, they found us on the ground, but the damage was big. We acknowledge that. And that's why even now we continue doing that. We're never responding to any crisis that was emerging by that particular time, because this problem needs us to be there on the ground. It's a problem that needs us to be permanently on the ground and deal with it every day. So I can assure the society that we are doing this every day. It's not for short term, it's permanent. They are going to see it happening literally every day.
So let's talk about the consequences, because sometimes I do wonder if directors or business owners shouldn't face personal criminal consequences when companies repeatedly exploit workers or deliberately employ people who are not legally permitted to work. Because, as you said, there are some employers who deliberately break the law and they just effectively budget for the consequences. So if the employer knows the penalties are coming, but they still find it cheaper to pay a fine than comply, I mean, doesn't that suggest then that the penalties or punitive measures have been too weak?
Quite correct, Clement. You're quite correct, 100% correct. Currently, the situation is not what we want it to be. The fines are very low. It's easy for employers to pay fines and continue doing wrong things. That's why with the new amendment that is coming to you, to Parliament and to the public, we are changing literally quite a lot of things. The fines are going to be steeper and harsher. What is going to happen is that currently, if you are in Pretoria or you are in Johannesburg, we are an employer and we find you that we have employed illegal foreign immigrants, one foreign immigrant will cost you 10,000 rands. But if you are somewhere in Ladysmith or somewhere in Krugersdorp, each and every illegal foreign immigrant will cost you 2,500 rands, which is nothing. So now we're changing all that. The new proposal says an employer must be fined for the first time. A first-time offender will be fined 100,000 per illegal foreign immigrants. If you've employed 10, it means it's 1 million rands. If it's 20, it's 2 million rands. And then a second offender, a repeat offender, will raise it up to 200,000 rands. Then on a third time, we are taking up to 1 million per illegal foreign immigrants, and then we prosecute you. So that's how harsh we are becoming. That's how we want our policies and laws to bite. But further to that, we are saying to any person who's going to abate or assist any illegal foreigner to do work in our country, again, we are going to prosecute them. But also with the Home Affairs, working with Home Affairs, as I've said earlier on, that our labor migration policy is literally also changing how things are going to be done. We are collaborating with Home Affairs, and our collaboration is going to make it difficult for anyone who has been exploiting the gaps, because there have been gaps between the two departments. Our policies and our regulations have not been speaking to each other. At times, you'll find that there is a loophole on our side or on Home Affairs side, and people are able to, get out or get free without being punished. So we are going to be punitive, and we are going to be deliberate about it.
Mm-hmm. So, because I mentioned we started this conversation with the 114 workplaces that you inspected in the first operation, only 3 were compliant. What kind of violations did you see? Most of the employers, was it more them employing foreign nationals who don't have the relevant papers, or employers who couldn't justify why they are employing foreign nationals? So, in other words, are you finding that employers are exploiting undocumented migrants precisely because they know that these workers are less likely to report abuse or even, demand their rights? What kind of violations have you seen as you inspected these places?
You are quite correct. Part of it is that it's about employment of illegal foreign immigrants, which is done deliberately because they are cheap labor. They don't have to register them with UIF. They don't have to register them with compensation fund. They pay them below minimum wage. They expose them to very dangerous working conditions. They don't buy them PPE uniform. It's just a number of gains for them. So they maximize profit. That's why they want to employ them. At times they don't even pay them because they are not going to go to anyone to say and to complain and say we haven't been paid because they are illegal in the country. Nobody even knows that they're in the country. So you have that problem that the issue of illegal foreign immigrant is deep, but it benefits employers in a big manner. But further to that, you find that even with South African employees, they don't pay them at a minimum wage. Some are not registered with UIF. Some are not given PPE. They work in dangerous conditions. So what they do to illegal foreign immigrants at a larger scale, but they also do it with our own South African people who are working for them. And but with occupational health and safety, again, there's a low level of compliance. You find that there are electrical connections. They leave employees in serious danger. Fire hazards, it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. And dangerous substances that they are working with. You find that they don't take these workers for medical checkups. Workers work for long hours. They are not paid overtimes. They don't get leaves. They don't have salary slips. They don't have contracts. So it's a number of non-compliance within the area of labor laws. But the big top four is the manufacturing sector, it's the agricultural sector, it's the hospitality sector, and there is one sector that I'm leaving. I don't want to make a mistake and include them where they don't belong.
Is it not the construction sector?
But I'm going to the construction sector. Thank you very much. It's the construction sector.
Okay.
Those are the big four. Yeah.
Yeah. So construction, manufacturing, agriculture, hospitals, those are the industries with the most violations here when it comes to our labor laws. It's 10:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. We'll come back and continue this conversation with Jomo Sibiya, the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labor. I see your WhatsApps coming through, your calls as well on 011-883-0702. I'm coming to them in a moment. Swiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that the tow truck industry in KwaZulu-Natal is heavily involved in drug trade. A period of investigations in case Ellen John is at province. Those tow operators with some officers clients. Students that she operates will be halted at demands are met. One concerns the reduction in residencies exceeds the first funding gap. A instance yesterday actually the Cape Town CBD and yes, the university has issue and rescuers searching for some past at 15 people of he says 77 just have been rescued. Those lines this UN and more weapons.
Along in the approach, please approach this is part of reviewing road travel and that ends about areas between coming out in the road and are on right at also slowing down traffic while traveling in Bedford View. There's queuing traffic on the N3 North approaching the Gilulis interchange. That's due to roadworks. There's also slow-moving traffic on the M2 West between the Crown interchange and Main Roof Road. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
10:33, that's the time. We're having a conversation with Jomo Sibiya, who is the Deputy of Employment and Labor. sharing with us some of the industries that are the worst violators of our labor laws: the construction industry, manufacturing industry, the agriculture industry, hospitality sector as well. Those are the major four violators of our labor laws. But yeah, it's really quite shocking that out of 114 workplaces that were inspected, only 3 were actually compliant. I want to take your calls now and your WhatsApps. In fact, let's start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702. On YouTube, I see your comments. I'll come to them as well.
Good morning, Madmija. A quick one for me. You know what? We can complain about compliance all we can, but the problem starts with enforcing. The whole of whether you traffic, whether problem of Africa is enforcing the laws. That's where the issue is. How do you expect then to be compliant if there's no enforcement?
Good morning, Clement. I just want to understand, this is Sipho in Maryland. I just want to understand what should one do in a situation where you're asking for a document that you have to take to the Department of Labor to claim for your UIF, and the employer is refusing or maybe is not providing that document. What are the steps that needs to be taken? Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Manyathela, I want to ask the minister there, why is the government only focusing on private companies only? Why are they not focusing on government also? Because there's a lot of people who are in training, like Sam Wardens, they've been in training for 5 years without getting any permanent employment. There are people who have been doing internship for 10 years, 15 years, but they're not getting any permanent opportunities. Why is the Department of Labor allowing that? All right, thank you, Mr. Manyathela.
Thank you. I'll get the Deputy Minister to respond to that. Let me take Tsepo as well, who is in Johannesburg. Tsepo, hi.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Sure. How's it going?
All right, man. Thank you. Clement, I want to ask the Deputy Minister, as a person with a disability in the workspace, to say what aspects, when they do the inspections, are they covering in terms of employment of persons with disabilities, policies which the government is actually developing in their respective departments or organizations, and there is non-compliance. What are the from the ministerial position or from the Department of Labor, are they actually focusing in making sure that the consequences, as you have asked previously, to say how harsh they are? But I heard him actually responding on issues that illegal immigration. But I want to ask about the public, the South Africans who are in the workspace, and there's non-compliance, especially on persons with disabilities, because we see there are different policies which the departments are developing in terms of employing persons with disability, only to find out after they've employed them, they don't actually utilize them when they're in the system, and there is no compliance in terms of making sure them to be viable and productive.
Great question, Tsepo. Thank you so much. Zimasi in Lenasia, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Sharp, go ahead.
Our issue, man, in the terms of this compliance, we've got a garage also here in Lenasia, which owes 4 million in Provident Fund, which doesn't even pay the UIF of the employees, which doesn't even pay the tax. How does the Department of Labor can assist on this issue?
Got you. Thank you so much, Zimasi. And maybe what will help is the Deputy Minister to share how you can raise a complaint about a particular company if they're not following labor laws. So, Deputy Minister, let me give you an opportunity to respond. I've got 4 different comments that came through. So if you need, let me just remind you of what they are. And as you answer and you need a reminder, let me know. But there's someone who called earlier about an employer who refuses to give them documents to apply for UIF. What do you do in that instance? The next question was about the private companies. Is that where you are only doing inspections, or are you doing inspections in government entities as well? Tsepo called in about persons with disabilities. So when you do these inspections, are you also checking if companies are compliant with labor laws in as far as persons with disabilities are concerned and what the expectation of these organizations are. And then the last one was from Mzimasi, who says there's a company, I think, the petrol station, owes millions in Provident Fund, UIF, taxes. So what do they do? Where do they complain to?
Thank you very much, Clement. The first question is about the issue of. In fact, there was a comment where our listener was raising an issue of the lack of enforcement in our country in general. I think he is correct, and it's one thing that the president has raised very intense and very sharp with us, to say all law enforcement agencies in the country must do their work. That's why you even see us now collaborating and working together, because we want to change the current picture. And what the listener was raising, we need to do better, and we need to make sure that all the laws of the Republic by all enforcement agencies in the country are complied with. And two, Sipo raised an issue regarding employers who are refusing with documents if they want to come and claim their UIF in the department. They do this, Clement, for some reasons. One, the question that is being raised, I will just go a bit in detail with it because it assists. We want to say to all employees, all workers, you have a right to check with your employer whether you are registered with UIF or your compensation fund. It's your right. But also within your pay slip, it must show that there is money, 1% that is deducted from you for UIF, but also there is 1% that the employer contributes, which comes to the department. At times, employers will show it on the pay slip, will even deduct that money from the employer, from the employee, and then only to find that they don't contribute to the fund. They just take it back to themselves. That's how bad the situation is. But at times you find that workers are not registered at all. They are literally not registered. Or they are registered, but there are no contributions that are made by employers. So workers have a right to check whether they are registered with UIF. They can come to our department at any given moment. We have offices in each and every municipality. Our labor centers, they are everywhere. They have a right to come to any of our labor center, check themselves whether they are registered with UIF. We can see with your ID and your workplace, we can tell whether you are registered or not. And then we can start working from that premise. We can even assist with such challenges, because our inspectors will go directly to that employer and make sure that they register those workers and they contribute to the fund. So that might be the possibility that this employer is not registered with the UIF, he hasn't registered his workers, or he deducts the money but he doesn't contribute. I would advise that he goes to our labor center. I just don't know where he was. He didn't say where he's from, but he can go directly to our labor center and just go and check whether he's registered with UIF or not. Then that will tell whether he's not registered or he is. Then further, the other question was, are we focusing only on private sector? Not really, but the reality is that private sector is the biggest employer in our country, far bigger than the government. But we do focus on government. I'll make an example, Clement. We have closed down a number of government buildings as the Department of Employment and Labor with our occupational health and safety inspectors. We've even closed down magistrate courts where we find that buildings are not in good conditions, they are not safe, they are not habitable. So we do deal with government. It's now we've been given an extended mandate recently this year where we're going to be dealing even with the issues of pension funds, because we're not dealing with issues of pension funds. Some municipalities are owing workers. So now our inspectors are being trained to deal with the issues of pension funds. So we are dealing with everyone, literally with everyone. It's just that the level of non-compliance in private sector, where a lot of work is being done, is very high. Not as compared with government. But I'm not saying all government institutions are compliant. There are those that are not complying and we are dealing with them. We're not only focusing on government. I'm trying just to say that. And there was an issue where he raised an issue of people who have been doing internship. Internship should be a 1 or 2 years. I think maybe he talks about people who are in contract for 10 years. Again, that is non-compliant. It's being non-compliant with our labor laws. Such issues can be reported. There are also bargaining councils who are within the space that are dealing with quite a number of institutions, even within government, especially in municipalities. You do have SALGA as well being in that space. So there are a lot of instruments that can be used to deal with these challenges. But as the department, we always assist whenever we find challenges, whenever people come to us, we do assist them to make sure that there is compliance with labor laws. And then there's Tsepo who spoke about the issue of disability.
Yeah.
I want to say to Tsepo, in particular in government, we have set the target, which I must admit that we are not meeting that target yet. We haven't met that target of 5%. Every department must employ 5% of people living with disability, and we haven't met that target. The president also has spoken very sharply to all departments to say this is an indictment to government where we set our own targets and we are unable to meet them. So there is a lot of work currently that all departments are doing to try and meet this target and make sure that we employ people with disability, but also we make their working conditions to be conducive, because we need to provide them with all the tools of trade that necessitate them to do their work and to thrive. Same with public-private sector. When you employ a person with disability, you must make sure that the working conditions are really conducive to that person, depending on how the person is challenged. We must make it easy for them to thrive. So that is part of the work that needs to be done. That is part of that must be on contract, by the way, because one of the biggest challenge, Clement, that I must say, when we get to be employed, we even forget that we must sign a contract. A contract is very, very important, because in whatever that happened at your workplace, your contract will always protect you. So I will say it's important to make sure that even with people living with disability, when you are employed, your contract must be very clear that it covers everything that deals with people living with disability. And Zimas in Lenasha, I would want to get that garage. Simple as that. If the Zimas can even drop it to you, drop the name to you, Clement, we'll go there before the end of the week and make sure that that garage complies with the labor laws of this country. Thank you very much, Clement.
All right, thank you so much. And yeah, if you know the name of that garage, Mzimasi, just contact the producers. Give us a call or send a WhatsApp and tell us what it is, and we'll pass that information over to the Deputy Minister. There was a question, Deputy Minister, about the people who are found to be working here illegally. So if an undocumented worker is found working illegally, what happens to that worker? Especially also in cases where they're being exploited. Does their undocumented status then affect their ability to claim unpaid wages or compensation for injuries or other labor rights? Deputy Minister, can you hear us? Okay, something...
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
My apologies. So, yeah, that's a very good question, Clement. The current amendments that we are doing protects the illegal foreigners who are working in South Africa, because an employer will employ a illegal foreign immigrant knowing very well that he is illegal, but because he wants to exploit that person, he will continue employing him. But this person is going to provide labor for that employer. The employer is going to make profit. His work is going to continue, but is going to be exploiting this. So when we find an illegal foreign immigrant, we make sure that the employer pays that illegal foreign immigrant while that foreign immigrant is arrested and deported. For an example, we were in Hammersmith just last Friday. We arrested about 29 illegal foreign immigrants. We made sure that they are paid. They are paid every fortnight. We made sure that they are paid their money before we take them. because they are human beings. We have a responsibility as South Africa to protect people who are in South Africa, illegal or legal, and deport those who are illegal back to their own country. To be legal doesn't mean that you are not a human being. We're a country that must protect other citizens as we protect our citizens, as they're in our country. Doesn't matter whether they're illegal, but we must make sure that they are protected. So their illegal status doesn't dispossess them or doesn't strip them their right to be compensated after they've delivered a service. So that's what happens.
Okay, got you. There are questions that have been asked over the last couple of weeks, Deputy Minister, and I know it's probably too early to even expect U.S. government to have these numbers. But I just want to check if there's some preliminary figures maybe you guys are working with or some observations you've made. And that question is around the gap that has been left by the thousands of people that have been deported or repatriated. I think government has confirmed now that the number is sitting at 84,000 rand, if I'm not mistaken, but definitely over 80,000 foreign nationals who were deported or repatriated. Have you, from your observation, or if you've got preliminary numbers, picked up a gap in the job or labor market as a result of these deportations? Because many of these people were employed in some way, whether in the formal or maybe even mostly the informal sector. And I accept it's probably too early to ask that question. So if you can't respond, I'll understand. But have you made any observations? Are there any preliminary figures you're looking at as government?
Clement, I'll just talk about observations. It's true, we haven't tallied the numbers. We are still working on that. But one thing I can tell you is that we have seen an increase of companies employing South Africans. In some companies that we've been to, there's a company that we went to in Pretoria just about 3 weeks back. I was very happy to see that company where we found about 45 illegal foreign immigrants. And within a week, they started employing South Africans, and they filled those posts with South Africans. We are seeing quite a number of other companies where there were illegal foreign immigrants. There's one again on Friday in Hammersdale, a textile company. It told us that they employed about 95 illegal foreign immigrants. And when we arrived there on Friday, all of them were gone for the past 3 months. And the other workers who are in that company, they told us that no, they've removed all of them. They employed South Africans in those positions. So there is a change that we see. There are those employers who are determined to make change, but there are those who still believe, as you have said earlier on, that maybe some people think that this is temporal, this is not permanent, this is operations that we're doing. So they think maybe we are going just to disappear very soon. We are not going anywhere. We are out there. We are going to be upon them. So there is quite a change that we are seeing on the ground where South Africans are being employed. And we strongly believe, Clement, that there are employers who will say, but these illegal foreign immigrants had some skills that South Africans don't have. Let me tell you, Clement, the law is very clear. If you want a particular skill in our country that you believe we don't have, come to us as the department. We'll look for that skill. If that skill is not in the country, we give you permission to go out and look for the skill outside the country. You can't just wake up in the morning and decide and say, you need people who must operate sewing machines. South Africa has been one of the biggest in Africa when it comes, biggest producer of textile in our country, in our continent, for years. So, but because it has been taken over by other investors and other nationalities, we have seen quite a change where South Africans have been displaced in that sector. But we do have South Africans who operate, who are machinists. But beyond that, they can be trained. We are very, very much available to make sure that we assist any company that says we don't have the skill that we need. But most of the time, you'll find that it's just being deliberate, it's just being disingenuous. People just decide to employ illegal foreign immigrants for the sake of exploiting them and for cheap labor purposes.
Yeah, I mean, and the crackdown is not only about foreign nationals. I think we've got workers here who are South African that are also being denied contracts or pay slips, overtime, UIF, just basic workplace protections. I mean, there was a case of a worker who was apparently being paid just 300 rand a month in KwaZulu-Natal. So, I mean, that really shows you that this exploitation goes goes too far. So what should a South African
goes
worker
too
do
far.
then in that case? What do they do when an employer refuses to pay, even the national minimum wage, but they are so desperate enough for the job that they fear losing it. So they are scared that even if they complain or they try raise it through other alternative means, they may lose that job, and they are quite desperate for it.
I'm glad, Clement, you are really raising issues that matters. South African workers are also suffering, and our work is not only about illegal foreign immigrants. It's just part of what we do. Just an example of what we are talking about. In Hammersdale, where we were at on Friday, you have workers who are paid at 6 rands an hour, while the minimum wage has been set at 30 rands 23 cents, who are paid 255 rands a week. That means they are paid just 1,000 rand and above a month. And that is absolutely nothing. And they were like, when we were there and we made sure that the employer, before we arrested the employer, pays them. When we say he must pay them at a minimum wage. He was paying them at 6 rands an hour. He paid them for 2 weeks at 30 rands 23 cents. You could see, there is a video that was circulating. You will see how happy those workers were, Clement. They were just saying, for the first time in my account, I have 3,000 rands. For the first time. And it's how bad the situation is for our own South African workers. That's why I'm saying you are raising a very fundamental issue. So what workers must do is that wherever there is non-compliance, just go to our offices. I'm going to leave you with the number, Clement, as well, that you share with the listeners.
Yes, please.
A toll-free number where they can report. But they can go to any of our offices and make sure that they report those employers who are not complying with any of our law. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how significant a person can think that non-compliance can be. But to us, it matters. It can be UIF compensation fund, minimum wage. It can be occupational health and safety. It can be uniform. Workers are not provided with uniform, but they must come and report any non-compliance. We are here for them to serve them.
Okay. Do you have that number at hand?
I'll just leave it with you, Clement.
Okay, no worries. Then I'll just say it out to the listeners after our conversation. Let's go to some calls now quickly. Thabo, you're in Springs. What do you want to say? Hi.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks for bringing the Deputy Minister. Actually, Oraji has answered the hotline because I wanted to ask him if they can have a hotline number. And then about the punishment to the employers. If they can add, because in your open line, you've been talking about the high rate of unemployment. Let them use this opportunity to employ unemployed, to get jobs for unemployed. There must be a fine, plus they must take, if they take out 10 illegal workers, and then they must put 10 permanent South Africans.
Got you, Thabo. And then there's another question from a listener, Lulu Minister, who says, how do we know if people in the department do not do favors for these companies? If there are companies that are offenders and violating the labor laws, those companies must be publicized so that they do not receive any favors. That's a suggestion coming from Lulu. Yes, Deputy Minister?
Thank you, Clement. I get what the first caller said regarding the removal of illegal foreign immigrants and then replacing them with the South Africans. It's our desire to see that happening, and it's what we want to see happening. That's why we don't want anyone who's legal to work in South Africa at the expense of our South African people. We want companies to prioritize South Africans. That one we are very clear about. But obviously, when you remove, you arrest and deport the 10 illegal foreign immigrants, you leave it to the company to employ whom they want to employ. But obviously, it must be South African. But we can't force them and say, because now we've removed 10, we are waiting for you. Put 10 South Africans, want to see you employing another, because he can decide to employ 5 after that. Remember, we are a constitutional democracy. Business is protected, but also we have a responsibility to protect business. We want business to thrive in our country so that our economy grows and we are able to employ more people if our economy grows. We still have that responsibility as the department to strike the balance and protect business. There are things that we can't do, which we allow an employer to do, which is not at our purview. Then the second one is the issue of people who are not. What was the question?
Publicize these companies, because we don't know if some of your officials at the department are getting some money to keep quiet or taking bribes.
Yeah, we do mention the companies that are not complying. We don't hide because it's in public. We do public. Our work is public. There is nothing to hide. But it's not like we have a register where we say, you can go and look at this register. These are the people who are not complying. But we make it open. Even when we go to companies, we make it open to say, we went to this particular company, we name them.
Okay.
But we don't have a register. But our inspectors, we are trying by all means to make sure that they are ethical. They know that they are doing noble work. And we always say, if you know any of our inspectors who is taking bribes or who's being paid, please let us know. We'll remove them. But our inspectors, I must say, Clement, they are ethical and we're making sure that they do
Deputy
this
Minister,
work.
I'm out of time. I want to quickly check with you. The 10,000 inspectors the President spoke about in Feb, when are we going to see them being appointed?
We are going to see those inspectors appointed very soon, Clement. We are working currently towards finalizing that process because we had to clean that process from scratch. We had to establish systems that were not there. We're a department of about few workers who are bringing more inspectors. But I can assure you that by this year, there will be a first phase of of inspectors that will be already in the employment of the department.
All right. John Mosibiya, Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, thank you for coming to engage with us.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. And they asked me if I knew what their third-party policy entails. I said, third party? Whoa, big dog. I haven't even been invited to the first one yet. And they just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
In case you're on the highway, driving to your first big maize delivery, and something mysterious happens. You stop at the garage to scope the damage. You realize the fuel system is kinda dear my car. You panic. But then you take a deep breath. Because you know Hino Air Gap Cover is there to cover anything outside the standard 6-year warranty. Steering AB control modules. It's the unseen essential in your business. To your Hino dealer. T's and Y. Hino all the way.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful words. And it's what we at 7 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to follow rules set out by Broadcasting Complex Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced program, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the, let us know on comment at z2.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing. Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall. Visit bcsa.co.za.
This EWN.
Good morning, officials. The Madlanga Commission inquiry has heard that the tow truck industry KwaZulu-Natal is involved in drug trade. Deputy Director of Investigations in KZN, Len John, is testifying today as it turns its attention to gangs and drug syndicates in the province. Says police relationship with tow truck operators, with some officers going as far as helping drivers to get clients. Says this has made the tow truck industry vulnerable to be used by organized crime.
We believe that the tow trucks used for transporting drugs. I'm not saying that all the tow trucks, but in many of the cases, the tow truck industry and the drug industry go hand in hand. We see that the tow trucks are being used to transport drugs and to supply drugs.
The trial of gang boss Nafis Modak is set to turn its attention back to the attempted murder of attorney William Booth today, as the nation of accused Tawfiq Brown continues. Brown is one of 14 accused standing trial alongside murder on a array of charges, including murder, racketeering, fraud, and money laundering. The state alleges Brown orchestrated at least 2 killers on behalf of Modak. Carl Peterson has more.
The alleged terrible Westsiders gang leader Tawfiq Brown has denied knowing about his wife's involvement in the shooting of prominent criminal defense attorney William Booth in 2020. Kotar Brown was one of 3 accused who entered into plea agreements with the state after admitting their roles in the attack. Tawfiq Brown told the court that while he regularly communicated with his wife from prison, she never told him about any plot to kill Booth.
While she was calling you, whilst you were inside, she was busy with illegal activities outside. Whether you spoke about that or not, I will take it that she did not tell you about those things. She did not.
Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
Protesting CPUT students are adamant that university operations will be halted until their demands are met. One of their concerns is a reduction in residence fees, which still exceeds the NSFAS funding cap. Around 1,000 students yesterday marched through the Cape Town CBD, calling on others to join, and the SRC president, Liyabulela Gela, says the university has failed to address their issues.
We're making sure that as students, that when we say it's an institutional shutdown, even in residences, they do not operate. That is the mandate of the students and not the SRC. Until our demands are met, it will still continue like this.
Meanwhile, CPUT spokesperson Lauren Kensley says some classes may be moved to online at the campuses affected by the protests.
It's an unfortunate reality that protest action is part of higher education. So we're well versed at going online. And I think just for the safety and security, we have traumatized staff members.
And rescue workers in Zimbabwe are searching for some passengers on an overloaded ferry which capsized in Lake Kariba. At least 15 people died when the boat overturned yesterday. Authorities say 77 passengers have been rescued. The boat, with more than 110 people on board, was hit by strong waves. Gold is trading at $4,403.10 an ounce. The rand is at 16.18 to the dollar, 21.87 to the pound, 18.67 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $89.76 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M2 West. This is between Elof Street and the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic in Bedfordview along the N3 North. An accident reported near the Kilulis Interchange. Delay is coming out of Van Buren Road.
A cold and cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 11 and 14 degrees. The top story in EW and this hour, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has heard that the tow truck industry in KwaZulu-Natal is heavily involved in drug trade.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's time now for our Listener's Choice feature.
Burning questions,
insightful answers
Listener's Choice
with Clement Manyathela.
Today on our Listener's Choice feature, we're discussing the rise in illicit trade of medicine in South Africa. The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority says the availability of illicit medicine in the country is growing. There are criminal syndicates that are increasingly targeting weight loss products painkillers. They are targeting chronic medication as well, like your HIV treatment. So fake and unregistered products are turning up everywhere, from spaza shops and beauty outlets to, there are Instagram pages that do that, even in gym changing rooms. So there's a booming, largely unregulated market for weight loss peptides that's also become the regulators' biggest current concern. And what SAPRA is now doing is roll out their largest ever public awareness campaign and working with customs, with the police and other stakeholders, even professional councils, online platforms to shut down illegal suppliers. So how big really is this problem? Who is behind it? And what should consumers watch out for? And if you have encountered illicit medicine, how did you know it was illicit? I'd like to know from you. Share your experiences with us on 011 8830702. WhatsApp's on 0727021702. Mokhadi Fafudi is the head of regulatory compliance at the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. Mokhadi, thank you so much for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and to the listeners.
How widespread is this illicit medicine trade in the country at the moment, and which products are criminals targeting the most?
It's a growing trend, Clement, and it for the fact that access to digital systems, social media platforms, it's increasing as well. So globalization it's actually contributing mainly to this. And most of the products that are concerned, it's lifestyle-related medicines or products. As you have mentioned, it's weight loss products. And also we see a lot of performance enhancers. We also see pain meds that has got codeine in them because you remember it. And then we also see your skin whiteness, lightness, bleaching agents. And then we also recently are seeing, as I mentioned, lifestyle, they call them for bum lifting. That this is based on the labels, bum lifting or even breast uplifting. So, and we
is that like a product they apply on their bums and breasts for them to be lifted, or is it injections?
They are some are topical. They apply, which is which is very, very concerning because, Clement, you would know that in South Africa, the Medicines and Related Substances Act is a legislation that specifically handles health products, and SAPRA is the institution that ensures that all health products that are in South Africa comes through us, so that we can evaluate them, and also the facilities can be licensed, and we can ensure that proper healthcare professionals are in those facilities, and we can also inspect the facilities for good manufacturing practices, etc. So no product that claims to be effective in terms of health should not go through SAPRA for approval and authorization.
Okay, what's attracting them to these medicine, Mokhadi? Because if someone is telling you that, oh, this is something you're just going to apply, or you're going to inject yourself with this and your bum is going to be lifted, or you're going to lose weight, or you're going to have stronger muscles, whatever the case is, and that still hasn't been approved by SAPRA, there must be a reason why people are willing to take that risk. Is it because these products are cheap? Is it because it's very difficult to get them using the official channels? What have you seen as your observation?
I think, Clement, media and social media platforms also becomes very, very worrying in terms of what your influencers are, the message that the influencers carry. People see things on social media and they become gullible to those. And people are selling wrong information. Mainly it's misinformation and disinformation that is being sold to the public. And remember, when you're speaking about lifestyle, people want to appeal to look similar to certain people, certain figures. So we see people, the influencers, for example, contributing immensely to this. However, when it comes to health product, our role as SAPRA is to educate the public and also make them aware that there shouldn't be any health products that are going to be interacting with your body, which are not coming through healthcare professionals. For example, if weight is a problem, obesity is a medical condition. So you see your practitioner who is a doctor, for example, and then they will then look at you, check other contributing factors to make sure that whatever treatment that they are going to be putting you on, your body will be compatible with it, and they will therapeutically monitor how you are progressing. And then there are pharmacies who are, because medicines are sold through pharmacies and certain clinics, of course, who are authorized in terms of the Department of Health. But if you are getting your health product from facilities which are not those that I've mentioned, then you this is about health. Then a person is gambling with their own health. So it is very important that when it comes to the health, because these are affecting people's health, they are changing people's bodies, the way they look, and they are interacting internally. Therefore, whatever product that has got a health impact on you, you cannot get it from anyone other than a healthcare professional, unless for those those products that are just for mild, like that you can get certain very mild painkillers from retail stores. But people must also look which retail informal outlet are they getting this from. Should something go wrong, are you able to check? Will SAPRA be able to assist you to track and trace that? And also the adverse events that will happen on the body, what we normally call the side effects. So some people can complicate. So our role is to also make sure that those who encounter that, those are reported. The healthcare professionals have got a system that they collect the reports and they report to us and we investigate. We hold the importers, the manufacturers, accountable for their product to make sure that the public continue to be safe using legitimate products. So people, you mentioned even the health, the gyms, for example, and beauty salons. So anything that is injectable is a medicine. People must not source it other than from a pharmacy through a doctor's prescription, for example.
I've got a message here from someone who says, I'm a dietitian and my clients tell me that they take oral supplements to help them grow their buttocks, and they are sold in formal pharmacies. They are promoted by influencers. So Mokhadi, in cases where there are, formal pharmacies who are still selling these products, even though they are not yet approved by U.S SAPRA, that's illegal. So what enforcement action are you taking as SAPRA, and how effective has it been so far?
Okay, so retail pharmacies, for example, they are licensed in terms of the Pharmacy Act. So the Pharmacy Council and the National Department of Health are responsible for those. As soon as we detect a problem, we contact them, we work with them, we join forces, and then we enforce together. So we do open criminal cases as well. So please, as we mentioned, that those have, like the dietitian mentioned, that those have not been approved by SAPRA. So those should be reported, and then we will go to those pharmacies together with the Pharmacy Council, and in cases with the law enforcement agencies, then we would therefore apply our laws. Section 29 of the Medicines Act lists the offences, and then 30 is the penalties. So we will enforce the law, and we would open criminal charges. We don't have arresting powers, but we will make sure that those cases are not left unattended. Of course, Clement, as the regulator, our hands are tied. We've got limited resources. That is why we are doing this campaign to warn the public to say, please report, so that we can enforce the law. But at the same time, we are just warning from prevention side. Be careful what you are getting from where. And the moment you identify a facility which is online and it's selling medicines, report it. We will investigate it. Again, digital platforms are also very complex, and e-commerce, because Clement, some of these are not even hosted in our country. So we also have to work with the digital communication department to help us to pull some of this down. But it is up to the people to be very, very careful when it comes to their health.
Yeah, got you. I want to go to some WhatsApps now, some calls as well. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. Have you encountered illicit medicine, and how did you know it was illicit? You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. I mean, it's very clear from what Mokhadi is sharing with us that the problem is much, much, much wider. How did you know it was an illicit product, if that's something you have come across? Or maybe you have used an illicit product because you heard of a friend who was maybe in another country and told you this works. Did it work for you? Did you face consequences where you needed some intervention from local health officials? Share your experience with us. How did that go? Let's start with your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
On medicine and illicit trade, I think we need to also spread out the scope to herbal medicines. I mean, there's so many of us. If you go to Limpopo right now, you'll see between Potgietersrus and Polokwane, there's guys selling black bottles of everything. You go to the to Joburg CBD, people are selling bottles of this juice that is black and apparently it's an enhancer and whatever story. You go to the rural KZN and the same story. And people are just saying, just drink 1 cup and it'll work. From one person to the next, the dosage, it should be different in any medicine. But these guys just cook up, macambis and whatever that it is, and everybody's, it's open trade. What is the government doing about that as well? Thank you, Simon Valdefien.
Hi, Clement and the team. My question to your guest is with regard to some medication which we buy over the counter from different pharmacies. Some of them have a disclosure. This product is not approved by SAPRA. So should we trust such product or medication? David in Melrose.
Thank you so much, David. Yeah, Mokhadi?
Yeah, Clement, supplements in particular have not yet been called up for registration, but there are companies that would submit them for evaluation by SAPRA and approval. So those ones that are putting that disclaimer, they are required to do so, because just to show the people that they are buying it at their own risk, knowing that it has not yet been evaluated by SAPRA. So it is the discretion of a person to use that. But at least it is making that disclaimer. But the ones that do not have scheduling status and they are not even indicating anywhere to a registration number or how they've been authorized by SAPRA, then that's where people must be very wary of such health products. And especially, I hear also the one about the black bottles that are being sold, unfortunately as well. So if those are health products, those are for enhancers, they have to be evaluated and approved for that to use. The indication must be tested through the regulator and be approved for such, because the complications that come thereof, unfortunately, people are even scared to be sharing them. But you can even see with the physical changes in people, how they subsequently, and also medical complications where people now have to go to hospital for treatments. But we are asking that we hold hands with the public, working together. They report what they find out so that we can, we've got the National Action Plan Against Substandard and Falsified Medical Products. We are working with different law enforcement agencies and the members that you have mentioned, like the Health Professional Council, government department. We are also including media and also patient interest groups, just to make sure that we fight this together, to say that let us use approved medicines that have been proven to work, because we continue to also monitor the adverse drug effects or adverse medicines effect of medicines, because with time we realize that medicines also do have got other events, and in Africa, for example, we have got different other medical conditions and also the socioeconomic statuses that contribute to this, where previously maybe these medicines were tested in the third world markets.
What do the consumers do though? So if I suspect that I've bought a fake or illegal product, what's the first thing I should do?
On the SAPRA website, SAPRA is SAHPRA. So on our website, we do have a whistleblower page. Then we also have a hotline, which I can mention the number, where they can just call and then report the matter, or they can then go to the web page and then they upload the information. Then we will then investigate it.
Okay, let me go to some more WhatsApps on 0727021702.
Good morning, Clement. I think one of the things that's also contributing to people buying these products is when people travel. So, for instance, like when you travel in Europe or in the United States and North America, you see that some of their painkillers are much stronger than the painkillers that we get here. So naturally, when people compare the type of stuff that we get here that's registered versus there, and which one works better, and the one in Europe or the one in the US works better, they'll be inclined to go for that or to use that because it's, alleviating the pain, or it is assisting the skin with the skin condition that you have. So I think SAPRA needs to maybe look at, necessarily also registering some of these medicines that are effective, because it doesn't help you giving us as South Africans medications that are not effective compared to what people who travel will know that in Europe this medication is effective, or in the US this medication is effective. This is Koketso from Joburg.
Thank you so much, Koketso. So Mokgadi, I guess what Koketso is saying there is, well, give us also this kind of effective medicine so that when we're traveling then we don't find something that's much better than what's being offered at home.
I think that is contextual, Clement. I would disagree with that. And I would also just want to remind us that SAPRA, my organization SAPRA, we are the regulator. We don't bring medicines in. We regulate to protect the public. Applicants apply for their products, then we evaluate and ensure that indeed it will be of quality, it will be safe, and it will be efficacious. It will do what it says it will do. That is our role. So the applicants are the one that brings medicines in. And if I can tell you where South Africa stands globally, we are a member of big global organizations, and we've got a wide range of medicines that are authorized. And if you look at the pharmaceutical companies that are here in South Africa compared to other our counterparts or our other countries in Africa, we are doing way well, and we are internationally comparing. And maybe the prescribers are not aware of certain products that are available, but we do have a registry database on our website, and we do in South Africa have quite a wide range of medicines that are effective, that are very, very good.
Got you. Here's another one.
So, Clement, I'm wondering about the IV drips, which are said to boost libido, boost energy, and so forth. What is the process in that? Should it be that the premises should be owned by a doctor? But also, number two, SAPRA, in terms of their social media and making people aware, if social media is so effective in making people aware, shouldn't they take the same approach and find their own influencers, and counter this disinformation that's happening? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, Mokgadi?
Thank you. So with regards to IV drips for enhancement or weight loss and all that, so these are medicines that would be at least Schedule 3. So they require a prescription. So doctors are allowed to administer medicines, but they are not allowed to dispense medicines. So for administration, yes, they can keep medicines for administration, but pharmacies are the ones that are allowed to sell medicines for chronic use regularly for people who can come repeatedly. So first of all, it starts with the product must be authorized. It must be approved for the doctor to then acquire it from a wholesale, for example, to then administer it to their patient. And then when it comes to social media, yes, indeed, I agree. However, as I said, the resources of the regulator are limited. So, and also remember, reputational, our SAPRA is a regulator of global standards. We also need to be careful who are we going to identify as our representative, for example. However, as I said that we are collaborating, we are looking into that as it's a very good point to say that we also, how can we influence to make sure that we send the right message? Those are the things that we are prioritizing to work on. And I really thank you for this opportunity. I was taking notes.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's a fair point, especially because as SAPRA, what you've been trying to do is go on this largest ever public awareness campaign. So yes, it's great to work with customs, with the police, the professionals out there, but here's an opportunity to also have your own influencers. Let's have people dominating these online spaces and warning consumers about what's fake and what is not, and how cautious they need to be when they purchase these kind of products. Mokhadi, thank you so much for joining us. I really, really, really appreciate your time. Mokhadi Fatudi is the head of regulatory compliance with the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. Please, please, please be safe out there with these products. I mean, apparently they're even being sold at gyms. I mean, that's quite something else. So you go to a gym and you find someone who sells something like that to you. So we're easily trusting. When someone tells you, oh, this thing, just apply it, your bum is going to be lifted by tomorrow. Or in 2 months' time, your breasts are going to be lifted. Take this and apply it. But it hasn't been approved. So you're running a risk of facing the consequences that may be severe post applying whatever product or using whatever product that's not authorized or approved in South Africa. And what do you do to try and remedy the situation? So it's actually quite something we need to be cautious about. It's 29 after 11.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
So remember, we spoke to Jomo Sibiya in the previous hour, who's the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, and he promised to share with you contact details for that toll-free line if you want to maybe report an employer who is failing to comply with labor laws, or employer who's refusing to sign or give you documents you need to apply for UIF. That number is 0860 101018. So for inspection and enforcement services, if you want to maybe get the labor department to focus on a specific company, maybe there's something where you work that you've picked up that your employers are doing that's against the labor laws, give them a call, 0860 101018. That's the number you should dial. It's 11:30. Let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Police in KZN have come under scrutiny at the Malanga Commission today, with officers accused of carrying out extrajudicial killings. IPID head of investigations in that province, Len John, says police are being investigated in connection with the murders of hundreds of people. The killings are alleged to have been carried out by specialized task teams during shootouts with those suspected of being involved in criminal activities. Demonstrations are continuing at campuses of the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, with students vowing they will not back down. Protesting students say they will return to halls only when their demands have been met. One of their concerns is reduction in residence fees, which they say still exceeds NSFA's funding cap. And the National Joint Operational and Intelligence Structure says Durban is ready for the 46th SADC Summit, with security forces on high alert. NatJoint says it has deployed specialized units and maximum available resources ahead of the gathering of SADC leaders. Several heads of state and government are expected in Durban later this week. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In Bedford, vehicle have got that on the N3 that happened right near the Goodies change, delaying out of Front Road. There's also queuing traffic along the N2 West cross to road work, as well as an earlier accident. We're heading to a mile due delays as well along Main Reef Road. This is still. Then if you are traveling on the N1, the mid traffic road to an accident. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
EWN on the EWN.
The Paris
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
This is our stories about Chile, and some of you have been enough to share your stories with us about stuff happening in your life. You need advice out or stuff you want to figure out if one of your listeners have experienced before. So please keep sending those emails on DM at 702.co.za. Besides how many things we have in common just as a community. You're dealing with this, probably else has dealt with. So maybe they're in a better position to some advice. If you've got a story you want to share with us, you send us email cm at 702.co.za. So we've got an email today from Anonymous. So I'm going to read it, and afterwards I'll give you a call. You tell me there's something you've experienced. If the listener is asking for advice, please be kind in some. I hope Anonymous. I'm a 35-year-old lady with quite a big friend group. I made a lot of my friends in the city, and some of them are foreign nationals living in South Africa. Now, with the ongoing conversation about illegal migration, my friends and I have had many debates about our stances on the issue. I'm a proud African, but I absolutely believe in legal migration. I also believe that South Africa alone cannot handle the influx of migrants from the continent. My friends and I have debated this a lot. One of my friends, who is a foreign national, seems to have taken offense to my comments during one of these debates. She told me that I was xenophobic and behaving like someone who is uneducated. I didn't take offense to this comment because this is an emotive matter, but he seems to have taken my comments to heart. She has not been responding to my messages. She's also been open to hanging out with some of our friends, but she's made it clear that she doesn't want to hang out with me. So politics is an emotive matter, but I didn't think it would end our friendship. I would like to know if this has ever happened to anyone else in 702 land. I'm not going to change my stance on this matter, but I don't expect her to change hers. But I also don't think this should mean that we're no longer friends. Am I downplaying how divisive this issue is? Please, can you ask the 702 lenders Anonymous? Okay. So just to recap, Anonymous is 35 years old. He's got a friends. They've been debating this issue of anti-illegal immigration protests, and she says one of her friends has taken offense. Has taken offense because she has taken a stance. This Anonymous, who's written to us, has taken a stance that, she supports legal migration, not illegal migration, and she doesn't believe that South Africa can handle the influx of migrants from the continent. So one of her friends has taken offense to the statement and has called her xenophobic, and as a result, that friend has stopped responding to Anonymous's messages. So Anonymous is asking, what do I do? And she wants to know if this has ever happened to you. Like, do you have friends that you've argued with, debated with about a political issue, and that became a big source of conflict between the two of you? Let me know on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. I mean, Anonymous does say, I'm not going to change my stance here, and I don't expect her to change hers. But she didn't think that this is something that would lead to the relationship breaking up. So, any advice for Anonymous? Must she keep this friend, or... Because she clearly has tried. She's tried to text her. She's not responding to the messages. So I would say walk away, Anonymous. You've tried. You really have tried. And I think we need to be mature as friends and understand that we're not going to see eye to eye on some issues. We're going to differ here and there, and that's normal. But I also know that there are friendship groups that stay away from political issues. And I wonder if you are one of those. Like, has your friendship ever been affected by different political views that you hold as friends? Huh? Or do you completely stay away from politics? I mean, look at what's happening in the Middle East, right? When the war on Gaza was at its height or at its peak, I was hearing stories of people who are having difficulties in their friendships because if you come out and you take a stance, either pro or against what was happening in Gaza or what happened in Israel in October, you hold a different view, then you are seen as something else. Or where maybe you're called anti-Semitic or you're called Afrophobic or whatever the case is. Have you ever been in that situation where you differ with friends to a point where the friendship has to end because you just don't agree on certain things, and those are issues of principle for you? That's where you draw the line. Let me know. It's 22 before 12.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
Just on that thing of tenders are an important way of uplifting entrepreneurs and so on. I agree with that in principle, but I would want to know government always get value for money. Are they rigorous in ensuring that when they do engage with entrepreneurs by contracts, do they get involved in the life of that company? Are you the procurer of certain goods? Are you actually involved in that sector with a view to becoming a player?
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Today I get this call from an insurance company. They asked if they could quote me. I said, quote me? I can't remember what I said, but if you're still thinking about it, it must have been pretty good. Mom always said I have a way with words. They just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
Sharpen your competitive edge and get ready for the next installment of the Tournament of Champions. Do battle on the biggest stage and prepare for an epic showdown as you fight for your share of the 500,000 Rand prize. Bet R2 or more on selected spinner zonke slots to blaze a trail to the top of the leaderboard and claim victory.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver the essential services that improve lives and support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports, and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance, and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
702.
19 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's go straight to your WhatsApps.
Carol 2. Yeah, learn be emotive about this issue and be offended by the fact that she expects you to break the laws of your country in order to make her feel comfortable and happy about what is, yes, correctly an emotive issue, be a black and white issue. You're either here legally or you're not here legally. There's no in between. You know, it's not one of those things. You can't be half pregnant. So this person needs to just cut their friend. They're not their friend. That person is a leech. And if they're going to make you feel guilty for holding an opinion, they're not your friend to begin with, because your friend must then know you better than what they then infer on you. So actually cut that person out. I just thought about it. Get rid of him or her.
Morning, Clement and the listeners. My advice to the anonymous: she must let that friend go. She's not a good friend. Which country allows illegal foreigners to do as they like? She was supposed to ask that friend, in your country, are they allowing illegal foreigners to do like they are doing here in South Africa? No. She's not a good friend. Let her friend go. She must just let her go. Finish and clear.
Yeah, I'd agree. You don't have to be friends. You really don't have to be friends. It's a very emotive issue. I mean, if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, it's difficult to argue that there's not a huge impact on South Africa of bearing the burden of a whole lot of foreign immigrants. But on the other hand, if you look at it if you look at the statistics more carefully, you need to ask yourself what the impact actually is. Is it positive or is it negative? And that's not the conversation generally. The conversation generally is that it's just bad or it's xenophobic. It's not engaged in at a rational level in my experience. But I mean, if this is going to break your friendship, then that friendship shouldn't be.
Yeah, and also like we all have friends, and then we've got friends. So I guess anonymous. My question is: this person is. Okay, I always explain it like this to people around me. I've got my first tier of friends, and I've got a second tier of friends, and I've got a third tier of friends. And some of them I isolate in between over the years. Maybe someone who started in third tier suddenly becomes in my first tier. So which tier of friendship does this friend of yours belong? In which tier of friendship? Because I guess that also explains how you manage this. Especially if you're in the first tier. I would imagine that you want your friendship to be honest. And you want to be able to have honest conversations with your friend. Especially if it's a friend that's closer to you like that. And if you can't have honest conversations that may lead to disagreements or you guys respectfully agree to disagree, then what's the point? Like we all have, you see in relationships we have, deal breakers. I think we also have deal breakers in friendships. Like I wouldn't be friends with anyone who's racist. I wouldn't be comfortable with being friends with anyone who's racist or anyone who's homophobic or who's abusive or who's Islamophobic or anti-Semitic. You name it. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. That's where I draw the line when it comes to just broadly human rights and you have no regard for that. Or someone who's sexist. If you have no regard for other people because they're different to you or because you think of them as lower than, then that's weird. I find that really weird. So I wouldn't be comfortable being friends with you. Especially if you're not seeing, and I'm not talking here about someone makes a mistakes and corrects it, does better. I'm talking here about someone who just will not fudge, will not move from their position. Not because they know less, but because they're just seeing other people as less than. That's pretty weird.
Good morning, Clement. I'm an EFF member. And Clement, I've got a friend who has a family in Lesotho. We argue about this thing all the time because I'm an entrepreneur and this thing directly negatively affects me because I am on the ground and I am not a blind EFF member. I disagree with this thing of allowing illegal immigrants because I'm negatively affected as an entrepreneur on the ground and our leaders lost touch with the ground, so they are not affected. We argued, Clement, at some point, and I decided that I'm not going to be talking politics with him anymore because we differ. So they take it very personal because they are the ones that maybe they have relatives up from other countries. So just walk away. That's it.
Hi, Clement. Personally, with my friend affects my because that and if what they believe in and stuff like that is contrary to what I believe in, I think I will disassociate myself or just distance myself from them because one of the things that I have in common with my friends are values. So if they are affected, then maybe we should keep our distance cordially. So we meet wherever, we say hi, okay, but not be close friends. That's my view.
Absolutely. There's a message here that's a bit funny. Can I read it? And I'll come back to more of your WhatsApp. Sotsata. Is it Sotsaka? Yes, on the WhatsApp line. It says, Clement, please tell me. I listen to you Monday to Friday, every day. Am I your friend or something else? If I'm not your friend, tell me, what am I to you? That's Kolani in Pretoria, and he says, not Swani. Well, you are a friend, Kolani. Huh? We're friends, aren't we? I would believe so. I mean, if I'm talking to people every single day, I consider you a good friend, and I hope you do myself. And you and I, don't we sometimes or most times disagree? Yeah, we've got differences in opinion. There are ideological positions I hold that may actually differ with yours, but do you then stop listening? I don't stop listening to people on the radio because I disagree with them. In fact, I find that enriching, which is why I actively go to listen to people that I disagree with, because I think that expands your viewpoint. It helps you understand matters much better. So yeah, that's an example of friendship, is we can disagree, but we still consider each other friends. It's 11 before 12.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. There's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
What happens when one of SA's leading maths teachers decides that every learner deserves access to quality maths education? You get SIMI, the Shire Izibalo Maths Institute, founded by Michael House maths teacher Paul DeVette. Already helping thousands of high school learners, SIMI provides CAPS-aligned maths workbooks, free teaching videos, and online revision sessions designed to build confidence and improve results. Whether you're a learner, parent, or teacher, visit Primedia Plus or simi.education and join the movement to improve maths grades. Proudly supported by Primedia Cares and Michael House Community Partnership Trust.
Big advances in health are happening right here in South Africa. Local researchers are studying a new TB vaccine called M72 that could help stop people from getting seriously ill. And programs like Coach Mpilo are helping men living with HIV overcome stigma, start treatment, and stay on it through peer support and private chat guidance. It's South Africans helping shape the future of global health, supported by the Gates Foundation for 25 years. Partners of human potential.
The Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyathela Show.
7:02.
9 minutes before 12 o'clock. Back to your WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement. Yes, Iman. In terms of political views, I think the most divisive issue in the world between friends is the difference between friends who like Donald Trump and who don't like Donald Trump. I hate the man. I cannot stand him. He hates me as much as I hate him, even more. And he's just a bad influence in the world. And I have lost good friends because of this man.
Really? So wait, did you just say Trump also hates you? Does he know you? Are you talking more about, well, I live on the continent and we know he doesn't give a about the continent. That's what, I mean, he's made quite problematic remarks about this continent to that effect. I'm playing with you, but I get where you're going. I've got friends who love Trump. I do. And I'm in the beginning, I would say maybe like 3 years ago, I was a bit uncomfortable about it because I thought, okay, and the friends are fair enough to say, okay, I disagree with this person here, but they do find justifications for a lot of his actions. And 3 years ago, I remember thinking, really? Oh, uncomfortable. Let's not talk about that at a dinner table. But now I'm actually okay with my friends mentioning that at a dinner table. I'm good with that. Because I actually don't think I don't believe in group thought. And I think for the longest time, that's what has governed us, is we must believe in this one thing alone. And if you believe differently to this, then you are weird or you're a conspiracy theorist. So people can't even check what is in the mainstream media against whatever they're reading, which contradicts what's in the mainstream media because they are scared of being branded conspiracy theorists. So I used to be uncomfortable with some of my friends who used to declare their love for Trump in the beginning, especially when we've got visitors and I've got, some of my friends and some of my other friends that I know, like what their position is on Trump. And then there's this one friend that I'm like, oh my goodness, I wonder what they're going to say. This time, I'm very easy. In fact, I introduced the conversation. And this friend of mine also loves like Queen Elizabeth. Adores Queen Elizabeth. So these are the conversations we must have, guys. People are allowed to say Trump is the best president ever. That's okay. That doesn't make them bad people. They assess things different to how you do. And that's fine. Must that end in a friendship ending? I think that's childish. I think a true test of friendship is really when a crisis hits or when there are disagreements that hit. To be mature enough to say, you know what? I hear what you say, but I really disagree. But also hear what I say, even if you disagree, and then we can respectfully go separate ways and say, we agree to disagree. And that's when, of course, for me, that's when it doesn't involve human rights. So in cases where, someone is, if you as a friend, to me, you are racist as a friend, or you're sexist, you're homophobic, and all these other words, then I've got a problem with that, especially when you're constantly told and you're not even making amends. Then I don't see why we should be friends, because that's not just political differences. It's much bigger than that, at least to me.
Hi, Clement. Hi, 702 listeners. On my take on what Anonymous has said is that the only thing that's not being taken into consideration is her friend's feelings. Yes, it is a political issue out there, but the friend and it's how you make me feel. It's how you make me feel. It's like if you start just all and I discuss that it will obviously make me feel very emotional. So as friends, we should stick away from things that are very insensitive, because that's all the situation is, that the friend was just being insensitive, and her saying I'm still going to stand by my stance is exactly that, just being insensitive and focusing on politics rather than emotions.
Hi, Clement. It's Sivu. I just wonder. I think we can take the element of illegal immigrants. We just concentrate on the idea of legal and illegal. So is this friend saying they will be upset with their own friend for condemning illegal behavior? So is the other friend then saying, if my brother is a criminal, you must not condemn him for being a criminal, and he must not be exposed for being a criminal? Let's forget about migration, the migration element, but just the concept of legal and illegality. Then this is not a good friend. I'm sorry, emotional as the migration issue is, but legality, because as the caller clearly stated, their issue here is illegal immigrants. So it's the illegality element of the whole thing, not the legal migrants.
Yo, Anonymous, run as fast as you can. Don't even look back. Genuine friends will allow you to raise your views on opinion. They will never hate you. Even if you are a friend, you can still have a debate, argue, but At the end of the day, you are still friends. That's not a genuine friend. Balega mtase.
Tibalega. Ratswana says, Clement, I've cut ties with friends who support the ANC. Come on. Because I regard them as fools. They have no tenders. They are not crooks. As far as I know, they support the party of crooks. No. Right, Kana? I would cut my friendship with you for referring to me as a fool if I support a party that you disagree with. I would cut my friendship with you.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. StratGo connects strategy pool, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
Ish, I love my hometown, but for too long now, I look around and think we deserve better than this. The water goes off for days, the streets are falling apart, and things never get fixed. Look, I'm not asking for anything fancy. I just want basics to work. And I know they can work because I've seen it where the Democratic Alliance is in charge. I want our town to work for all. So in this election, I'm voting DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
Vandalism and theft of water infrastructure affects everyone. Damage to pipes, meters, valves, reservoirs, and other critical infrastructure can result in water outages, low pressure sewer spillages, and costly repairs that impact communities across Johannesburg. So Johannesburg Water urges residents to help protect public infrastructure by reporting suspicious activity affecting the water network. To report incidents or water-related faults, call Johannesburg Water on 010-061-4470. That's 010-061-4470. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water.
Coming up
on the Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
What's popping, Mandy? Good morning.
Hey, Clem. So the Madlanga Commission is hearing about the link between tow truck industry, drugs and police. Fascinating stuff coming out there about that nexus and how it all works. And alleged gangsters in court for the murder of 2 cops in Reiger Park. The DA has reiterated its call for body cameras for KZN cops. South Africa is looking to be reimbursed for its repatriation bill after spending...
We better.
Yeah, we spent a fortune on sending foreign nationals back to their home countries. And then we'll bring you the latest in the Hope Dealers series. This one is about an inner city school doing incredible things.
That's the Midday Report. Up next after the news at 12. Thank you for listening to the Wednesday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. We're back again tomorrow between 9 and 12. Stay listening to 702, my friends, and have a beautiful day. Keep warm, please. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Police in KZN have come under scrutiny at the Madlanga Commission with officers accused of carrying out